Hey dudes, it's Jeff the Alien coming to you from outer space, and you're listening to the Weird Minds podcast, hosted by my boy, Corey Hollow. Enjoy the show.
How you been?
I've been good. I'm waiting for it to get nice and fallsy outside. I'm so tired of the hot mugginess. I'm not a fan
Yeah,
of it.
completely with you right there. I love the Halloween weather. I cannot wait for cool 60s and sitting at a
Yeah.
fire.
We had it for like a week here in Pennsylvania, and I was like, yes, Halloween, let's decorate and have soup for dinner. And then it got back into the 80s this week, and I was like, oh no.
Yep, that's the same way it's been in Ohio. It was so nice for a little bit, and I was like, oh, I can enjoy this weather. I can sit outside and hang out on my porch. And there's that heat wave came back in, and it was like 90 for an entire week straight. And I was like, fuck this.
Indian summer. Yep, Indian summer. It's even worse in the mountains too because the humidity just
Oh, I bet,
lays. So
yeah. The humidity down just on, yeah. What you said, Pennsylvania?
Pennsylvania, yep. I am
Yeah.
in southwestern Pennsylvania.
Yeah, the humidity down there's got to be insane then.
Oh, it's not. It's not as bad as like living in the South was. I did spend some time in the South.
Yeah, but I spent about 6 months in the
Um,
South, and that humidity was insane.
oh, where
I spent 6 months in South Carolina. Yeah, South
ooh.
Carolina. And then
I was in
spent another,
Alabama.
I got you. And then I spent another 6 months in Virginia.
Oh,
Yeah,
Virginia gets hot.
it
I don't
was
know
still
why, but it
humid,
does.
and I got there in like December time frame, and it was still humid. It was insane.
Oh my goodness. No, no, thank you. I used to be able to I'm only 24, but I feel like I'm getting older by like decades every day. I just can't handle the hot or the cold anymore.
Yep, I need a cool 65 or 70s, and I'm chill.
Agreed.
So you are a author, paranormal investigator. I want to hear all about it. I love this stuff. Tell me about the books. Not my bad. Tell me about the books. What have you written so far?
So I haven't officially published anything yet. I'm working on two separate novels. One does include historical paranormal aspects, and the other one is just straight out horror. I write a
That's
little
so
bit of
cool.
everything. So
That's so cool. Hell yeah.
yep. One is actually based on one of the haunted locations that I have been through to now seven, eight times. So
Hell yeah. So what location
definitely
is that?
that is the Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, and that's
I
in
have heard.
Weston, West Virginia.
Yeah, I've heard so much about that place. That place sounds so fucking cool. Tell me about some experiences you had there.
Oh boy, I could write a book, literally. That's why I'm choosing to. But first of all, the entire town feels like it's so hard to explain until you go there. And if you have a chance to, I highly encourage it.
Okay, hell
The
yeah.
moment you get onto 119 and head into Weston, it's like you stepped back at least 80 years in time.
Damn, really?
This, yes, this downtown area has not really changed. They've done a lot to upkeep a lot of the buildings and stuff like that. There's a lot of buildings in a very small space in a historic district. So you come through and there's like this is a town that has two gas stations that I remember. So there could be more on the other side, but I've only seen two.
It's just like Columbia.
Um, yes, yeah, yes. I would say that that's a good, definitely a good description. It's a very small town, but there's so much inside of it. And you come off of 119, and I'm trying to set the scene here because it is really just its own place, and you can see the mountains in the background. But when you first
Oh, that
come into
sounds
Weston,
amazing.
it's beautiful. I will say that. You come into Weston, and you don't see this big building at first. It's all the way tucked behind all the other buildings. So you're going through downtown Weston. There's all these brick and brownstone buildings and stone buildings. And then you make like two turns and bam, this place is right in front of you. And they still have the original gate up. It doesn't close, but it's still there.
Hell
And
yeah.
as you're driving along, like it just the closer you get to this place, the more you feel like maybe you're not coming back out. And I know how dramatic that sounds, but it really does feel like that. It really does.
That's
Um,
that's
and
so
you
weird because I've gone to two haunted locations before, and I've kind of felt something very similar to like when I'm walking into like the area. As soon as you kind of get there, there's just kind of weird, like dreadful, kind of like hard, like heavy energy. I would try to just say.
absolutely, you can feel what happened there. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I feel like that is. Um, so you get there and you walk up of your own free will. We're in the 21st century. You can't, it's very rare that you're gonna, be dragged to a place like that
Yeah.
against your will. But you're walking the same exact path you're seeing the same exact things that these patients that, you know, didn't make it out the other side saw. And it really hits you when you step up to go inside. You get this feeling, it's like ice cold into your bones. It is not just like this cold breeze that just like you feel like you're stepping back into the 50s, into the 40s, you know. And that's the first experience I can explain is you start to feel different when you're there. And
Yeah, hell
then
yeah.
you walk in, and what's really, really interesting, my first time going there, it creeped me out so bad, let me tell you. The staff dresses like orderlies and nurses from the 40s and 50s.
They're still up there?
It is a tourist
Oh,
attraction,
okay,
so
okay. So it's like a little
they,
museum kind of thing, like how the Mansfield prison's kind of set up.
yes, but it is
Okay, hell
not little, and you better bring your walking shoes. It is a very,
yeah.
very extent. This building is massive. That's another thing. When you come up on it and you realize how big this place is, you're like, holy crap.
Do you know the square footage by chance?
When it was around 666 acres originally. They now have, I believe, either at 600 or under because parts of it have been sold off or stuff like that.
They
But
should totally buy 66 more acres.
they should buy back that. I agree with you. I do. Um, there isn't any, it's yay or nay about whether or not that's the actual amount of space that this place actually had. But they no longer have that amount of space. I do know that. But the
Gotcha.
staff that gives the tours, which they have historical, they have paranormal tours, they have it blocked up into different areas of because there is just no way that you could explore this place in one tour. The tour guide that we had most recently when we went explained to us that it takes 6.5 hours to
To go
step
through
foot
the
in every single room.
Jesus Christ,
And that's
six and a
just
half
the main
hours.
building.
That's just the main building? How many
Yes.
buildings are on the property?
So I'm not entirely sure. I know that the ones that you're allowed to go into are like a dozen or under. There's a lot of risk that comes in with letting you into certain parts of the asylum for sure. But I know that
Yeah.
just in the front when you come up, there's like 4 or 5 that you can see. If you Google Maps the place, and you zoom into it, you can see all the little outbuildings behind it, all the technical buildings that are either connected or right behind it. It is a very large space. So that hits you when you come up to, you're just like, oh, this is not some little like one building thing in the middle of nowhere. This is an entire former psychiatric hospital. It's still intact
Man,
and
that's
you know,
fucking huge.
standing.
Yeah. Yeah. So could you tell a bit more than the story of the asylum and what kind of happened there?
I can, yeah. So I'm definitely not by any means an official historian. So like all my information has been collected from touring, from my own research, stuff like that. It started the process of building it started right before the Civil War. It was halted by the Civil War, which basically just ran right through Weston.
Okay.
There there was a gold robbery technically.
A gold robbery. Ooh.
Yes. Yes. The funds to build Weston State Hospital or Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, both are historically accurate names for this building,
Okay.
were stolen essentially by, I believe it was either Union or Confederate. I do get kind of blurred on that, but one
That
side of
sounds
this
some like
war,
Yankee shit.
yes, yes, it does. They were like, you know what? I don't like how this is going. I'm taking this money back. And that's exactly what they did. They only left a very small portion of it behind for the asylum to be built. So construction was essentially halted until the end of the Civil War. But in the meantime, we've got people fighting everywhere. It's just not a good time. The first couple of patients are admitted during or right after the Civil War. To give just a timeline here,
Okay.
they are all women. There is no male patient in sight. So, and I say that without any indication that just how it was.
Yeah.
For the first couple years of this place being ran, you were more likely to see a woman and her child, a child or a woman admitted. Only one of them truly belonged there. She was a hatter
Okay.
who had what's known as Mad Hatter syndrome. She was working with chemicals and stuff to make the hats, which I believe may have to be fact checked, but I believe it was mercury. And
Okay.
she inhaled enough of it, you know, was around it enough that she did, in fact, go quote unquote insane and needed to be institutionalized for her safety and the safety of people around her.
Was this
She was the,
before or after the time of Alice in Wonderland? Because my brain kind of like goes to wonder if this was like possibly like the inspiration of like the Mad Hatter.
Yes. I can't guarantee that this was the exact situation that inspired it, but he
Okay.
was inspired by Mad Hatter syndrome or Mercury madness. So
Okay.
I know that
Oh
for
yeah,
a
that's so
fact.
cool. Yeah, the first
Um,
when you said that, the first thing that popped in my head was like, I wonder if this was like kind of like this. I wonder if this was before or after the writing of that story. 'Cause I know it's a pretty old story,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
I could. When was Alice in Wonderland written? I want to see here.
yeah, let me look that up.
Lewis Carroll in 1865. So it would have been around the same time period.
Okay, yeah. So I wonder if that patient. Well, no, because that Alice in Wonderland was written in England, right?
I believe he was English, yeah.
So yeah, no, you just could have. Yeah, you're probably
English
right
author
then.
Charles Lutwidge Dodgson. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's probably just like a similar case of kind of that. Yeah, that's so cool though.
It is. It is kind of. It's weird to think that they had all these other people in there, but only one of them really belonged there.
Yeah,
And
that's
then you get. Go ahead.
for such a massive space. Yeah, just for only one person really meant to actually be there. That's
So, the asylum itself was built on a certain plan, the Kirkbride plan, which is why if you look on Google Maps or you look at it, it has like two wings and they go back, and it seems all spacious. And the crazy thing is, it was only meant for 250 people. It ended up having 10 times that between the periods of the 1940s to the 1980s.
that's why it ran all the way from the 40s to the 80s, an actual asylum.
The asylum itself officially opened in the 1880s into the 1890s and did not close
Okay.
its doors until 1990, I believe, four.
Okay. Oh yeah. That's a long ass time.
So yeah, yeah. So over 100 years in total of being, this crazy chaotic place. In the 1930s into the 1950s, you could be paid to drop off people
They would pay you
at
to
the
drop off?
asylum.
Why?
Yes.
Why would
Um,
you pay? Like, why do you want like that sounds horrible to say, but why do you want patients?
that's a good question. I have wondered that myself. Why would you pay people to do
That's
this?
yeah. How much do you know?
It,
But do you know by chance how much they would pay? Like typically what they would pay per person?
between 15 to $25 a head. And back during that time, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah. That comparatively now, that's probably like at least a couple grand per head.
Yep, it was
That's
compared to
insane.
what the average person or household made in the Weston area during that time. It was definitely an insane amount of money for one person. And the thing was, is you didn't have to prove you know this person. You didn't have to prove that there was anything wrong with them. So imagine, just being someone who's out having a good time, having a couple drinks with your buddies, you're stumbling home or whatever. You're not usually an alcoholic, but you're drunk that night. Somebody comes by in a truck, in a car, something snatches you
Just
up.
yeah, it
You're
just
drunk.
grabs you. Yeah, that
Yep,
that's
you're
that
drunk.
that's had to have happened.
It
I wonder
did.
how.
It
Oh yeah,
happened quite a few
I was gonna say.
times.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I wonder how many stories, or if they have like any kind of records on like kind of like to figure that out. Like
They
how many?
do.
Oh really? Okay, cool.
They have an entire research room, and there's just books and books on treatment plans, on the patient's death certificates, stuff that the staff has like endlessly, tirelessly collected. They're mostly photocopied from like the Virginia and West Virginia state archives, but it's just an entire room.
Jesus. Yeah.
I have not gotten to sit down in it, but that if that gives you any idea, it's an entire room of information about this place.
And that's probably just
Um,
like what they found in the past, like so or so on. There's probably like at least two more rooms worth that they probably have to fill up.
Absolutely. They would have to fill a hallway, it feels like to me. They have museum exhibits inside this building that if you are not already creeped out by walking in there, these museum exhibits are so well put together, and they just recently updated them, and they have instruments that they used for treatment. They have holding chairs. They have the cribs that they would stick people in so that they couldn't stand up or sit down. They had to
Are
lay
these
down.
remades or are these like from the actual hospital time?
They are not replicas that I am aware of. Most of them have been used on another human being. There's an entire wall
So
of electroshock
there's gotta
devices.
be so much insane energy in that building.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I cannot describe it properly. It is really something where you feel like you are in a vice grip when you enter this room, especially some of the museum exhibits. And that's before you ever go on a tour. I just, as someone who has ADHD, who has anxiety and bipolar disorder, I sit down and the first time I went there, I cried after I left because 50, 60, 70 years ago, I could have been taken there. And the really sad part of it is that the person who put you in there had to get you out.
So you couldn't get like in a sense like advocate for yourself then at all.
No, not at all. You could tell the doctor, "Hey, I'm better," until you're blue in the face. But if that person who put you in there did
Doesn't come and
not sign
say,
you out, you die there. And that's why there are 3 different cemeteries attached to that ground. I couldn't tell you the number of people who were buried there, but it's most likely in the thousands.
damn. So do they have records, or is there like a gravesite on location?
So part of the museum exhibits have tombstones that they have recovered. They have a list of what they believe. So it was a patient's name matched to a number on a tombstone if they were lucky enough to have a tombstone.
Jesus. So there's, I mean, if I don't, what are your thoughts then? Because this will lead into what my kind of question is. What are your thoughts on like the whole afterlife or spiritual, um, uh, in that kind of sense? What are your thoughts on that? Like, is there like an afterlife in a sense where like, is it just the energy reacting to past energies from like the past, or is it an actual like, do you believe it's an actual someone's spirit there, someone's soul could possibly still be hanging around doing these things?
So for me, it's definitely, I believe in spirits, I believe in souls, I believe in unfinished business and all of that. I grew up, like I said, in a haunted house. I have never not been exposed to it. I was also born into a family that has a history of practicing Appalachian granny witchcraft, which
Oh yeah, that's
heavy
so
on the
cool.
spirits and
That's so
stuff like
cool.
that. Oh, well, thank you. A
Well,
lot of people are
I'm a
like, "What is that?"
no, I'm a massive so that's that part of the I'm hoping to get some people that are more into that kind of I guess you could say like niche of a kind of topic, but I'm a massive occult study, like someone that studies the occult, or
That is
and just
awesome.
and any kind of pagan religion I can get if I can get a book on anything that's pagan or esoteric or of antiquity for any kind of philosophy or religious stuff, I will get my hands on it and I try to read all of it. Personally, I practice Norse paganism.
That's
I
awesome. Oh, I love Norse paganism. It's so much fun to just look into. Ah, that's
it's
awesome.
been the stories are hilarious, and my favorite part about the stories is that like they're not these grandiful. Yeah, a lot of them, they sound the themes, the places that they're at, and stuff like that are kind of grand, fantastical, or these grand stories. But a lot of times that they're talking about is these people were everyday people in a sense. The stuff they were doing, the problems they had, the things they dealt with were the same things that any single person dealt on a day-to-day basis. And so like I don't know, for me, the closeness you feel within like the pantheon or just like the ancestral side of it, because it's definitely heavy on the ancestral side. There's just like a
Hmm.
closeness you kind of I've always felt with it.
Everyday heroes. Yeah, I
Yeah,
I love Norse paganism. It's there's so much to it, and you could spend hours just getting lost in the sagas
yep.
and just you
It's the
never.
only religion with Homer. Yep.
Yeah, but it's nice. It's fun homework. You're not
Oh
sitting
yeah,
there
it's
bored, that's for sure.
that. Yeah, exactly. Anytime when I was in the military and I was bored, like when we got out to the field or like any kind of like training exercise, I'd bring one of those like I'd bring the sagas with me, or I'd bring Neil Gaiman's
Neil
Norse,
Gaiman. Ah,
Norse mythologies book. That book is my go-to for anything story-wise. I have like all my favorite stories are booked off in it. That's what I would take with me all the time out to my field exercises. And whenever we had like
aw.
downtime, or probably just laying in my bed, I'm like, all right, let's time to read. Let's disappear for a little bit.
Oh, that's awesome. And Gaiman's the one to do it with. He is incredible. So yeah, no, I've been thinking about buying his Norse tales, so I think I'm gonna get my
It's
hands
it
on it.
is it is definitely worth it. If you yeah, it has a complete. Trying to think of how I want to word that. The way he sets the stories and the way he tells them to me feel the most like to me it seems like he cares the most trying to keep it true to what they originally were, even though a lot of it is um bad choice of words. I don't really know what choice of words to use, but a bastardization through Christian scholars of what the stories used to be in the sagas. And so I feel Neil Gaiman tries to keep them back to what the actual Norse were trying to the original stories is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
I'll have to look into that for sure. For sure. I love his other stuff, so can't go wrong. I believe he's the author of the Graveyard book. Um, and he that was one of my first like spooky books.
Hell yeah.
So,
Hell yeah. Tell me about the
yeah.
Appalachian magic. I would love to hear more about that.
Okay, so it depends on where you go in the Appalachians. Just like down south, like you have different types of voodoo and hoodoo when you go down south.
Yep.
Up here in this region, my family is specifically from Pennsylvania and West Virginia. They were a key founder in one of the small towns in Greene County,
Okay. Yeah,
Cadive
that's
and
so cool.
Jefferson.
That's so cool.
It is, and it's weird because I moved up here or down here from Ohio, excuse me, to be with my fiance about 6 years ago, and that's when I found out all this stuff about my family. So imagine
Yeah.
not knowing for so long, and then you're like, oh, this is why I see spirits. This is why I'm so inclined to live here. This is like
Yeah. There's one that's yeah, we're kind of talking about that. There's always been like something that I do believe like heavily in like the Norns, or like there's a fate, something that you have, there's something inside your life that you have no control on, where there's like those type of, like you're talking about, where this you finally realize once you got to that place that holy shit, this all now makes sense. Yeah, that's so cool.
absolutely. Yep, the ties that bind for sure.
Yeah.
So Appalachian granny witchcraft comes from the influx of Scots Irish and Native Americans and African Americans and just immigrants, people
Okay.
who are moving around.
Yeah.
The natives get displaced, the Scots Irish come over here to work the mines, and if we have time, I'll get into, oh, you want to talk about some crazy, crazy haunted history and some energy that's scary, that's a good place to go. But
Okay.
you
Hell
have
yeah.
all these people coming over and they mix everything they believe. And you've got the Catholicism, you have your evangelicals. I'm sorry, I struggle with that word so much.
All good.
Um, you have, these different branches of Christianity that are swirling in this mix. You have the way that I've explained this to somebody is, I guarantee you, anybody from this region, your granny might have went to church on Sunday, but Sunday night she was talking the burn out of somebody, and they would use psalms and passages from the Bible
Okay.
and things like linen wrapped in graveyard dirt or creek water to mend somebody. And the crazy thing is there's accounts of it working.
I have a book like that.
Um,
It's have you heard of the scholar Henry Cornelius Agrippa?
I have not. I have not read anything.
So he's like an old where was he? He was England. He was like a court wizard for like one of the queens. I can't remember which one. Don't
Okay.
someone will, I'll either fact check myself later and put in the show notes, or someone will fact check me. But he's got his 3 books of occult philosophy, talk heavily into similar things like that, where he has a bunch of these, like, it's the whole like first chapter, the whole first book actually is nature magic, and so it's all like those kind of similar things where it's like take this, this, and this from this, and you get this, it's all, and it all tells the accounts, like the only reason I'm writing this down is because I either tried it myself, heard it, seen it, or done it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so yeah, it's so cool.
It is. And it's and you're talking about at this time they were isolated. We didn't have Walmart down the road. They didn't
Yeah.
have doctor's offices. You have a doctor that's 40, 50 miles away on horseback at this time, mind you. My great, possibly great third generation back grandmother on my mom's side, her name was Nettie Brait. She was a Melungeon woman, which Melungeon is a term used for Appalachian people who are a mix of different cultures and different backgrounds, specifically Native, possibly African American, Scotch Irish, things like that.
Okay.
She was what you might consider a medicine woman by Native standards, but she was the doctor that they called when the other doctor was too far. If he couldn't fix it, she could, and she was married to the other doctor. So, it was just basically, these are all passed down stories. I wish I would have gotten the chance to spend more time and talk to her and things like that, but my mom always speaks of her with just this look of awe, because you can tell that the stories she's been told, you can't fabricate some stuff. And
Yeah.
one story in particular that I think puts Appalachian granny witchcraft into perspective, for me anyway, is they had some man come to them because he was in a farming accident. Pretty brutal. Not to go into too much detail, but it's pretty brutal. He was not having a good time. The doctor tried everything he could to stop the bleeding, cauterization, stuff like that. He was not going to make it. There was just no way. And he had, from what I remember from the story, 4 or 5 kids.
Okay.
He had people dependent on him.
Yeah.
So my granny Nettie stayed out of the doc's way, until it was time to maybe look at something else. And she came down with her Bible. And when I say Bible, you got to think dog-eared. The pages just marked and marked. And I would have I would have sacrificed my left toe to have hold of that Bible, because there's probably things in that you just can't get anywhere
Oh
else.
yeah,
And
her own personal notes and everything probably
oh yeah,
inside there. Yeah.
she came down with her Bible, and in specific, at least to what I have heard in this story, mind you, she took a cigar, lit it, and she blew the smoke over this wound while speaking psalms. And sure enough, the blood stopped. He stopped bleeding. He went to sleep. Well, they probably gave him some whiskey, back then. He went to sleep, and a couple months later, he had a limp, but he was back to work.
Damn, that's fucking crazy. That reminds me of, I recently watched a documentary on these uh kind of like sect of Amish witches. And the
Mm-hmm.
what they did sounds like very, very similar to kind of what you're talking about. How they would they used it was they would use more like kind of, they would use the same thing with, like, it was heavily based through prayers and stuff like that. I can't remember exactly all that they would use for their rituals, but I remember visually wise, a lot of it was just like kind of like holding your hand over somewhere. They'd say prayers over it, and then you would see in like this documentary that these gentlemen that would come in for these Amish witches, they'd come in like you're saying, like they're at their ends rope, they have nowhere else to go. Like this is like their last Hail Mary kind of situation, and this you see in like this, like it was weird because the one ritual they did that they actually like put in the documentary, the lights like blew, like not like went like turned off, no, like the glass like blew up.
Yep, and there's no explanation for it.
Yeah, and
You can't
it
sit
was
there every
crazy.
time and say it's the electricity or it's the
Oh yeah, if
globe
it
of the
just like,
oil lamp getting too hard, too hot.
yeah, so like if it was like electricity, like, oh, someone just turned it off. No, like the glass like shattered, and like anything that had like a light was shattered. Like the candles blew out, and it was like like you could even see, like you could see on like the film crews like faces, like they weren't faking this. Like there was, like you could see genuine, like not like fear, but like what the fuck was that?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's, to me, that's some of the funniest thing is, you get these people who come in and they either don't believe or they're just not sure where they sit. And then they see something that they just can't explain, especially in this area. And they're like, you know what? Maybe there's something to some of this.
Yeah.
Um, I would definitely say that to say that it's one way or the other, that it's solely based on Christianity is definitely not accurate. To say that it's based on paganism is not exactly accurate. It really is just pulling the things that helped them survive.
Yeah,
They
no,
lived
I
by
can.
like,
You were saying? My bad.
no, that's okay. They lived by like the moon signs and like the seasons and like the different temperatures and depths of the soil. It's crazy what goes into this. And if I could recommend some reading for you,
Yeah.
Jake Richards has two amazing books out, and they will definitely give you some insight
Oh
into
yeah.
some of that. He is a very good resource to go to. I own both of his books, and I have his set of conjure cards. So I love him when it comes to resources like that. I think you would enjoy both of those
Hey, that
books.
sounds super interesting. I'll send me the link to his like either Barnes and Noble or like
Yeah.
Amazon. Yeah. I would love to check
Yep, I
those
will
out.
definitely do that. I'll make a note to do that at some point so I don't forget. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So what kind of got you I know we talked a lot so far and we kind of jumped a lot of places. So I'm going to try to slowly work us back towards the Sane Asylum. What kind of got you interested initially in like writing and the paranormal?
Honestly, I was like 14 and 15, and I went down to my public library and picked up a book on it.
Really?
Yes, yeah, that's where it started for me. The library was like my sanctuary when I was a teenager. Don't ask, I was a nerd, I don't know. But um I had originally gotten into watching like Supernatural with my mom and stuff and stuff like that. But I've just always genuinely been interested in it. And I picked up these books about witchcraft. I believe it was Wiccanism at the time. I read some of those, and then they had this entire section like ghost stories of Wayne County, ghost stories of, Cleveland and stuff. And I read them, and the more I read them, the less I felt like I was crazy because you have all these people telling their stories, and then I realized, oh, the house that I spent a couple of years in was definitely haunted, and I wasn't crazy. The house I live in right now is haunted, and I'm not crazy. But I got into it from that, and then I am always so loath to admit this, but I got into ghost hunting through Ghost Adventures.
Hell
I
yeah.
just I I wanted to do that. I wanted to go out and have my own experiences. And then when I
I was
became an
definitely the
adult,
same as a kid. Ghost Adventures and all those video YouTube channels and TV shows. That's definitely
yes.
what helped spark my love for it. Yeah.
Yes, you watch other people do it and you're just like, huh, I could do this. I could go out someday and I could definitely see you being the type to just sit there and be like, you know what? I want to try this one day.
Well, yeah. I have in a sense when it comes to paranormal, a very similar story. My childhood home was haunted as hell. I called it Ohio's version of the Amityville House.
Oh no, you have to tell me about that now.
Yeah, gladly. So the first original owner, the story that I was originally told, which I don't fully believe as 100% true, but was that he killed his whole family and then hung himself in the garage.
Oh no.
But so the reason why I don't kind of fully believe the whole killed his whole family thing, because I've never been able to find a single article or any kind of story about that, and I feel like in a small town, that's something that would be in the news.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's a couple of newspaper articles right there.
But by small happen chance, my mom met his sister,
Oh.
and so we know the guy's name, and we know that like we know that he did definitely commit suicide in our garage. The rest was never confirmed that I know of. But ever since I was a kid, we've always had kind of like crazy weird shit happening. You'd see like something walk across the hall or some kind of shadow out of the corner of your eye. But then it slowly progressed the older we got to where like there was one night me and my brothers were all outside in our backyard playing Manhunt, which is I don't know if you know what Manhunt is. It's like this kind of like big version of like tag or hide and seek, I guess you could kind of say, but it's more of like in the woods, militarized a little bit, where you're kind of trying to like climb up
Ooh.
in trees. Yeah, you're trying to climb up in trees. You're trying to really not be found for like hours.
That
It's a
sounds
fun
like
game.
fun.
Yeah, so we're playing at like it's like 9 o'clock at night. It's past, it's probably even later, honestly. I don't remember exactly what time, but it's nighttime. And so the rule was no one was allowed to go into our actual like wood line because my oldest brothers were deathly allergic to poison ivy.
Oh.
So I climbed up in one of the trees in our actual side yard area. So it's not in the tree line, but it's I'm in a tree, so I'm hidden. No one's gonna see me unless like I mess up and try to hop out of this tree or kick a branch down.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so my brother Shane and his best friend were the ones looking, and so they're walking around the yard, they're calling out people's name. Well, they saw someone like crouching over in the tree line, and he thought it was me because it was a small person. All you could see was the shadow. And he's like, "What the fuck, Corey? I told you not going to the fucking tree line. Get the fuck up. Get the fuck out of there. I'm not fucking going in there and chasing you." Blah, blah, blah. And it stands up.
Oh no.
And so it stands up, and it's like 7 feet tall.
Oh my goodness.
And so
Definitely not you.
yeah, so he's like, definitely not me because I'm 5'5". I'm nowhere near 7 foot.
Oh my gosh.
And so he just nopes the fuck out of there and just quits the game. Doesn't even tell anyone else that he's
Reasonably
done playing
so.
the game. He just leaves, goes back in the house. And so we're hiding up there for like 2 hours. We're like, where the fuck is Shane? Why hasn't he found anybody yet? So
Oh
we all climb down. We forgot the game's been over for like 3 hours. All right, cool. We go find Shane. He's up in our game room and he's like, yeah, I saw some like 7 foot tall shadow man out in the woods. Yeah, I said fuck that shit and ran
no.
back
Didn't think to
inside.
tell you.
Yeah, I was like, you couldn't tell us that the Wendigo was in our backyard?
Oh goodness. Oh, that is really scary. When they're bigger, when they're like full bodied, just that it's terrifying. I couldn't imagine what he was feeling or
Oh
what
yeah, I
you were
couldn't either. I've
feeling
never.
knowing you were out there.
Oh yeah, after we heard the story, I was like, I don't want to go back outside for the rest of the week.
The rest of the year, maybe for
Yeah,
me,
exactly.
ooh.
And then after that, that was kind of like as a childhood, that was kind of like our biggest kind of like, I guess the thing that I remember happening besides like just like seeing the occasional shadow figure, hearing footsteps and stuff like that. But
His
it was
shadow figures are the creepiest.
oh, it's like it'd be the worst. I'd be in my room and like the worst times it would happen is when I was like I was this was like I think last 2 years ago almost. The girl I was dating at the time was in our bathroom upstairs, taking a shower. And I'm in my bedroom, the door's open, and I'm just, doing whatever I was doing. And next thing you know, I saw someone nude walk across the hallway. And I'm like, there's no one else up here. That's got to be the girl I was dating at the time. So I'm like, where the fuck is she going in my house butt ass naked with no towel?
Yeah.
And then next thing you know, 5 seconds later, she comes walking in from the bathroom. And I was like, wait. Didn't you just
Yeah, I just
walk?
saw you go the other way.
And she got so horrified. She did not want to move from my bed once I told her this. She was so scared. It was so funny. But that was like kind of the
No.
craziousness of like the extent of my childhood stuff that happened. But it was weird though, because as soon as my dad passed, that's when shit kind of got crazy. Ever since my dad passed, my mom's woken up a couple times being choked and like kind of like having like a sleep paralysis kind of demon kind of thing. And then
Oh
not
my
only has my
gosh.
mom been choked, but my drummer, my band has been choked in our studio when I was back living at my mom's house. And then also my fiance, currently my current fiance, she actually our first episode we did for the podcast was a paranormal investigator, and we actually caught live evidence on the episode. It was so cool. He brought in a what was it? He brought in a spirit box, and then he also brought in some like cat balls and a can't remember the name of the device, but it makes noises the closer something gets to it, but you have to be like right over top
A
of it.
REM pod?
REM pod, yes, thank you. And so he had a REM pod there, and so we're talking, and the REM pod goes off out of nowhere.
Oh no.
My first my first
You
thought was
have
it
to
was
get
my
closer touch those.
oh yeah, so my first thought was my dog, because my dog was laying underneath the table that it was on, and she like but when it like right around the time that it went off, I saw her like nose go up, and I'm like, oh, it might have just been her getting close enough, or something like that. Well, he shows me like, no, you have to be like right on top of it, above the antenna. If you're below it, it won't go off. And I was like, so you're telling me while we've just been talking, something decided to just go, what's up?
Basically, that's what it
In
sounds
between
like.
us. I was like, so that creeped me out. And then we pulled on the spirit box, and that we started getting I think we got like 5 or 6 responses that were like pretty clear and concise to the questions we were asking. A bunch of them was we had one female saying help. So this also comes into kind of where I'm like, I kind of believe the story that this man killed his whole family, but I kind of don't, because we had multiple, like we had a male and a couple female voices like differentiating on the spirit box session. And so we had like a couple female voices kind of saying help, attic, help, and then we had a male voice that was like pissed. He was like, get out. And
Oh
so I'm like,
no.
huh.
See, like when they start yelling get out and they start yelling like leave, I'm gone. I turn into a track star and I have
That's
short legs, so
that same night my fiance got scratched. We woke up the next morning and she had a scratch down her side.
oh. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and so that creeped us. That was probably the creepiest thing for me personally that's happened at that house. And it was even weirder later, because me and her went to with the same person. He took us out to an actual location with us. It was Helltown, Ohio. I don't know if you ever been out there.
I have not gotten to, but it sounds familiar.
Helltown, Ohio was this town out towards it's now the Cuyahoga National Park area
I do know where that's at.
is where the town technically is located in. But the government did some really fucked up shit and took the town back by force for no reason, and like kicked everybody out,
Oh.
and like did a bunch of like fucked up shit. There's a whole cool documentary about it and everything. It's I can't remember what the actual town's name was, but it's Helltown, Ohio. So I'm sure if anyone wanted to look up the documentary, I'm sure you could find it somehow, some way through that kind of like tag or something like that. But so we go back into we follow down this trail for about like 2 miles, and we find this like old, disheveled, like kind of horse barn, utility barn,
Oh
out like
no.
back in the woods. And so we're doing our investigation there. That's where they want to do their investigation site. Well, like the week beforehand, like when they got because they got there before us, they had to like they kicked all the stuff off so that no one would knew that the hell just happened there. But they told us about it. So apparently, some cult was there doing some rituals, and
I believe it.
there was a fresh pentagram on the floor, and they had to kick all the candles off the floor. Not the back of the one wall was like blown out, so they kicked all the candles off out, and like they sprayed John 3:16 to try to seal the circle.
Oh.
And so me being the goofy ballsy metalhead goofball that I am, I was like, well, let's go see what it's like to stand in the center of this pentagram. And
How'd that work out for you?
I kid you not, I felt like something was pulling me through the floor.
Oh.
Like from the
Wow.
center of like my chest, I felt like something was just like pulling me down, not like pushing on my shoulders, but like from the inside, just like pulling
Like
me.
the floor was coming up to meet you?
No, it was like no, it wasn't
Oh,
even like that. It was just like something inside me was like pulling me through, like trying to pull me through the floor.
that is terrifying. I have never had any experience like that, but I can't even imagine what
And so I'm
that
like,
was
I gotta
like.
do something else later on. This was still daytime, so I'm like, I gotta do something here once it gets nighttime. So so from standing in that, pentagram, I was like, I gotta do some kind of either Estes method, spirit box, or whatever I can try to do. I gotta do something here at some point tonight because there's something happening. Like, even though even though they tried to seal it with John 3:16 or whatever they tried to do, I don't know exactly what they tried to do. I just know that someone spray painted the John 3:16 over top of it.
Gotcha.
So later that night, I was like, what kind of devices aren't being used? What's not being done? I'm like, so there was it's called a direct link. I don't know if you ever used one before. It's a spirit box, but instead of having like an antenna, you become the antenna.
I've never used one before, but I have heard of it.
Okay, yeah. So they're so cool. You can, like, it's weird because you can feel like some kind of like energy come through your finger when you touch like
The frequency, yeah.
yeah. So it was cool. But so I'm sitting inside the center of the pentagram, crisscross, holding out the spirit box and just asking questions. And I actually can pull up the video and play it back for you.
Oh, I'd love to hear it. I love audio evidence. I have some of my own, but I'm not sure if I could play it back for you on here.
So I can send you the video as well on Messenger, but because it's a full video, you can see like kind of like everything.
Oh yeah,
I'd love
to look at it.
Hell yeah. But so I was doing the spirit box session, asking a bunch of questions, and then I didn't hear it myself, but listening back, you can hear it kind of clear, not clearly, but you can kind of hear it, and you can hear when someone points it out. But it says my name.
Oh.
And it wasn't like it just like guessed my name or threw out like a random name. I told before I don't know if you ever watched the channel like Overnight, the Overnight channel.
I have.
So how they always do like the kind of like they introduce themselves kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's kind of like a good way to like try to keep things like calm at first before they get too crazy. So I did the same thing.
Yeah.
When we got there, I introduced myself like, hey, I'm not here to do anything mean or any harmful. I'm just here to talk to you, blah, blah, blah. And so I wasn't surprised that it knew my name, but I was surprised it said. Okay, sweet. Found the video. But so I asked a bunch of more questions, and the next thing you know, I'm like, okay, so I asked, why are you here? Like in the barn, I was just asking like a generalized question, like, why are you here? And it answered back.
Those are the ones that get the good answers, though. The open-ended, simple questions. You'd be surprised.
It answered back with trapped.
Oh.
That it was like trapped there. I'm like, well, who's trapping you here? And at the time, I did not realize it at all at the time. It definitely was something I realized after the fact, but it said God. And so like after like thinking back to the moment, I was like, wait, is it saying that because that John 3:16's on it, is it stuck there, or is it holding it back to just being able to communicate with me? So like my kind of thoughts next time I go back is like, I kind of want to go and scrape it and see what happens. Break the seal and
break it.
Yeah, break the seal and see if something more crazy happens, or if it lets it free and not trapped there no more, kind of thing.
Definitely wear protection,
Oh yeah.
Maybe some runes, something, get yourself a eyeliner stick, get some runes on you.
I brought cleansing spray with me the first time. I'll bring cleansing spray with me the next time.
Good. Yeah, I am such an advocate for that. I've had stuff come home with me, and I know how to take care of it, but it's not pleasant. You don't want something like that coming home with you.
Yep. Oh
no.
We can even get into this house that I bought recently this past March. It's from the 1930s, and this house is haunted as shit.
Oh no.
Yeah, so we can definitely get in that next.
Oh,
but so
God.
here's
the one I live in now is haunted too. I can't catch a break, and it seems like you can't either. It just follows you.
So that's where part of me is like, I wonder if this was just something that followed me from my mom's house.
But have you tried to communicate with it?
Not yet, because I don't want anything to like get stirred up really yet, because there's been some kind of crazy shit that's happened. Like there was one night where it threw the dog bowl at our dog while she was trying to eat out of it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Was she okay? Or
yeah, she was fine. It kind of like threw over her. It kind of just like went flying across the room. But like you could see that it wasn't her fucking with the bowl, because the oh shit face happened, and she was like a good like a foot behind the bowl.
There's only so many things that would cause that, and all of those things are like direct pressure or lifting the dog bowl up. That is insanity.
And so so our dog, and it was like, it wasn't like the ones where you just kind of set the bowls on the ground. They were on like a little stand kind of thing too.
Yeah, so you had to lift it up out there.
Oh no, everything went flying across the room, and it's like, and I was like, what the fuck was that? And then I was home by myself for this one, but I heard something scratch our wall.
Ooh.
Our cabinets open all the time, but part of it is our cat, but then some of them that we know our cat can't get to or can't open, we're like, I don't know how the fuck this one opens on random.
Yep. Yeah, I'll go downstairs in this place and find that like one of the cabinets that none of the animals can reach is open.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, what in the hell? Like, I didn't open that. I know I closed it the last time I opened it. It makes you feel crazy at first.
Oh, we were going insane trying to find different ways we can place cameras to try to catch it, and we haven't been able to caught. We've caught a few times where we know it, like this one was definitely the cat because we just kind of fucked around with it and seen, like, we heard the cat, the one of the last like recent times where we actually heard a cabinet open. We were like, at first, like, what the fuck was that? And next, we see our cat running out of the fucking kitchen. I'm like, oh, it was Levi, you asshole.
Yep, they are so good for that. They're so good for that.
There's a reason why I call him Leviathan.
Aw.
So
He's like, you gave me that name. I'm going to live up to it now.
Oh yeah, he has to. So here's that video. I can get it.
Okay. This is the spirit box section you did,
Yeah,
right?
so that's the spirit box session, and then I'm inside that the pentagram, and there's a REM pod right in front of me too as well. So you'll hear me kind of talk about the REM pod.
What in the world? Yeah, that's. And then you've got the one question you ask where it just goes dead silent. You don't hear anything.
I think we missed the
Is there
God
somebody
part.
talking in the background with you?
Yeah, it was like one of those kind of like public kind of like events kind of thing where they invited a bunch of
Okay,
like
yeah,
publics.
I've been to those too. I understand what you're talking about. Yeah. No, I heard the God part, but in the beginning it was just dead silent, even for there being other people in the room. It just,
Yeah, it was
huh.
weird. And then so we got some other videos that I can send you to of like where you can hear my fiance saying she got touched there as well. That was the second time she's got touched. So she's definitely been someone I found that you're kind of like a magnet for spirits. So
So
I don't care
you're
if you
going
don't
with
want to.
me.
Yeah, you're coming with no matter if you want to or not. I need you to be my magnet.
Yeah, I know how that is. My fiance is the same way. She doesn't see or hear things as much as I do, but man, I tell you what, they follow her like a magnet for sure. I would have to figure out a way because I did post them on TikTok and stuff. Once I have to play it back to you. But speaking of EVPs and stuff, and you also had said something about the asylum. I have EVPs from the asylum um as well. We went overnight and spent 8.5 hours there.
Oh, that's so
So
cool. Do
we
you have
have
those on your computer?
I don't, but I bet you I could figure out how to download them.
Let's say we could
But
probably like screen. You could probably like screen share it, and we'll get the audio that way.
yeah, give me one. Or I could try to send them to you on Messenger. Would that maybe work? I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
that could work. Yeah.
Okay, let me do that real quick here. But we did an overnight public hunt, but it's this building is so big that you just don't hear or see much of each other.
Okay.
And they took us like floor by floor, and it's insane. I say that because there was nobody around us during either of these EVPs. Now you can hear that it was definitely like I was still getting used to the aspect of EVPs when I
Mhm.
took these, so don't judge me too harshly, but I'm gonna grab these real quick here.
Awesome.
I do have them labeled on the videos where we were at, so that will maybe make things a little clearer. But
Okay. Hell
the
yeah.
one we were yelled at. So when I say yelled at, here in a moment, you will see what I am talking about. And it is it is something.
That is so cool. So we kind of went over like kind of like my childhood of like what brought me into like really seeing like the paranormal stuff. I want to hear your side.
So I lived I lived in a really rural area in West Salem. I went to school there for about, I want to say five until the age of like 10. And then that's when I moved into Columbia where you and I met. After I moved out of Columbia, we moved into this house very briefly that I want to say is from the early 1900s. I did send you those videos, by the way.
Yep, just got
Give it
them.
a moment and they should send. But it was not a big house, but it was you could tell that at one point it might have been bigger. Things were definitely moved around in this house, and you could tell where it had been cut off. Like there was a whole other section of this house at one point that either zoning or just construction or whoever owned it before decided that they just wanted it changed. There was a loft house that had a gable in the front and the loft in the back. The bedroom that I stayed in, and mind you, I want to say around seventh, eighth grade. This is, around this time period.
Okay.
There was the house was situated so that the gable, like I said, was in the front and the loft was in the back. But the loft was part of a bedroom, and one side of it sloped down. And I say this because it's important, trust me. The bed was facing this sloped down loft alcove type thing. That was my bedroom. There were two bigger bedrooms and then a bathroom at the end of the hall with a clawfoot tub. This is important too. So one night I wake up, it's completely silent in the house. Mom was at work, dad was at work. It was me and my brother. I was old enough at the time, to be by myself, I guess, at night with my brother. So, but I keep hearing this rustling noise. And there are trees outside, so I thought maybe it was something up against the window. I open the window, nothing's there. I lay back down, I get another 2 hours of sleep. Maybe I wake up. Something is standing in the corner of this alcove. It is not my little brother. My little brother was so terrified of this house the entire time we lived there that he would not leave his bedroom after it got dark outside.
Damn, really?
He-
Did he ever
yeah.
say if anything happened to him? Did kind of
To
cause
this
that, or just
day,
like a
no.
feeling? Okay, gotcha.
Nothing. He was younger. He was definitely younger at the time, but he took his shower while it was still light outside. He went into his bedroom, played his video games, and he slept with the light on. He never to this day has spoke about why he didn't like
So
being out
something
of that
had to have
bedroom.
like really horrified him. Then yeah, it's crazy. I would love to
It
hopefully.
makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
It makes sense because, like I said, I woke up and I couldn't. It's that moment where am I just seeing things because I'm just waking up, or but there was someone standing in the alcove, and it was so tall that this alcove, if I had to estimate, it's about 6 foot. The slope of the ceiling comes down to about 6 feet, maybe, and then it goes into that like A-frame looking, situation. So it was
Yeah.
higher up at the top. This thing filled the entire alcove. It was not a person. It was not my brother. And I just laid there, and mind you, it still scares me. Like I just
Oh,
laid
that
there
would
like,
be
what?
horrifying.
What in the hell is in my bedroom? So I'm talking to it because I'm a kid at this point, mom, dad, the whole 9 yards. And it turns to face me from where it's facing out this little window and screams. And it is the most horrible, just unearthly thing I've ever heard.
Did anyone else
And
hear it in the house, or was
my
it like?
brother heard it. And the reason I know that my brother heard it is because I heard him jump. Like he was sitting on the bed and I heard him jump and his feet hit the floor. And he's just standing in his doorway because, like I said, he wouldn't come out of the bedroom after dark. And
Yeah.
he looked at me and he goes, "What the hell was that?" My
Oh,
little
that'd be
like eight,
fucking
9 year
horrifying.
he
Yeah.
was like, "What the hell was that?" And I'm supposed to keep him calm, and I'm over here like, "Oh, it was nothing. Go back to bed." Older sister syndrome. And I tried to call my mom, but she was, I don't think she was on her break yet at the time, so she never got the message. But I came downstairs the next morning and I looked at my mom and I said, "I want to switch bedrooms with you. If you guys don't mind, I would love to." So we never got around to it because they were just so busy. So one night I am in the bathtub taking a bath, whatever. Again, the clawfoot tub is so important. This was an older Victorian-esque bathroom. The
Yeah,
window was
clawfoot tub would
across
be so
from,
cool.
oh, they're so nice. I want one again someday. The like attached sink, and it's just it was a very roomy bathroom. And there
Oh
was a
yeah.
shelf below the window, and I'm taking a bath. I had my music playing. I was minding my own business. I have loved Stevie Nicks since I was a kid, so I know for a fact that's what was playing.
Hell yeah.
My mom used to have an old record player and had the Fleetwood Mac and the Stevie records and stuff. And I heard this something had to have rammed into this record player and sent this record scattering across the floor. It is officially dead silent in the house. And I hear somebody walk up the stairs. It was not my mother. My mother hated the stairs. Unless she had to use the restroom, she wasn't, or go to bed, she was watching her TV or writing her book and stuff like that. I wasn't my mom. My dad was at work. My brother was still asleep. And I heard something stop outside the bathroom door. So immediately I jump up. I'm slipping and sliding all over the floor. I got the towel around me. I'm gone. Screw the water, screw pulling the tub plug, everything. I'm gone.
Yeah.
And I was never the type of kid to hide under the bed. I was never the type of kid to cover myself up. So I get dressed and I go back to unplug the tub, and there is a woman sitting in the bathtub, and like a full-bodied apparition of a woman. And you always hear, "Oh, it's the black hair and the gray skin," and this
Yeah.
was a blonde woman with Victorian ringlet curls that like she must have taken down to take about, something like that. And she's wrapped in this old like night coat from the early 1900s. And she is sitting in the water. And the first thing I notice is she's not getting wet.
That's
You know,
oh my God, that would creep that would just for the fact that you were just in that exact spot would creep me the
yes.
fuck out. Oh,
Yes.
I just got chills thinking about it. Ugh.
That's exactly it. Like looking back years later, it still makes my skin crawl because I had just been in that bathtub in that same water. And she turns around full bodied in this bathtub, puts her hands on the edge, stands up, and walks straight. And I am on everything. She walks straight through the wall where the window is and is gone.
She
I
Caspered the
stood
fuck
there.
out.
She did. She does. She really did. She was gone. And I just, and I got at that point, I had told my mom about it, and the first thing they did was get me evaluated for things like schizophrenia, stuff like that. I do not have any of those disorders to this day. I have been tested extensively because I am a firm believer that you do have to rule things like that out.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything that equated to that. So my mom was just like, well, okay, I think it's time to tell you that since I was like in my early 20s, I can dream stuff before it happens. I see stuff that's not there. And that's why I'm so religious. Basically, that's the conversation we had.
Okay, hell yeah.
Yeah, my mom was able to like foretell one of her best friend's major car accidents before they happened. She knew she was pregnant before she knew. All kinds of crazy stuff.
That's
But that
crazy.
house,
Trying to like go through your day and be like, hold up, I already knew this. Fuck.
yeah, I can't
That would
imagine what
that would
that's like
trip
for
me up
her.
all that would trip me up all the time.
Yep, she is still to this day very intuitive, and I feel like that was definitely passed on to me because I know when something's not right. I know when something's not right, but that was my first, and to just like you said, you're in those places where you see these things still living out their lives as if they're still here. We had a tree in the backyard at this place, and it was the only tree out of what used to be like a grove that was still there because the city had basically been built around this section of housing.
Okay.
If you went down the road, there was a historic district down the road and to the right. So I don't know that it was considered a historic building or house. I couldn't tell you that, but it was right down the road. And I used to take walks down through there. And one day I'm coming home. It's the beginning of winter. It's starting to snow. I even remember what day it was. It was a Saturday and it was early in the morning because I couldn't sleep. I have had insomnia since I was very small. I'm all bundled up in my coat, like at the end of the road. And, and I come around the corner towards the house, and from where I'm standing, you can see the backyard and my parents' old station wagon that they used to have. And nobody is out for miles. It's cold, it's early morning, the kids don't have school, so there's nobody around. And I watched somebody walk across the backyard and stand in front of this tree. And as I'm coming up the sidewalk to go into the house, she turns around and it's the same woman who I had seen in the bathtub. And she is just standing there underneath this tree, staring at me like she hates the ground I walk on. I
Okay.
cannot explain the feeling. It was just absolute and utter hatred. Like, I hate that you are in my space. I hate that this is no longer my space. Basically, excuse my language, fuck you. That's exactly what it felt like. We didn't stay very long in that house. I
Did
will
you
tell
guys ever
you.
do any like back tracing to see if you can get like a old photo of who like used to live there and see if you could like figure out who that woman was?
So I was around 17, 18 and had
Okay.
finally gotten my hands on the ability to visit the Wayne County Historical Society and later on the Holmes County Historical Society. I did get a hold of, I don't have them to show you, unfortunately, but I had gotten photocopies at one point
Hell yeah.
of the family who used to live there.
And so
Um,
you found like kind of like you
yep,
could figure out that is so cool. Holy
yep.
fuck.
They had three kids, and my brother had once, the only thing he ever spoke about was a little girl standing in the doorway. And he told me she had dark hair and a pink ribbon. It was an old tintype, but you could tell that the ribbon was a light color. And then this woman who was sitting between them, she was this tall but very thin woman wearing a certain style of dress. And sure enough, she had long blonde ring-like curls.
Did it say then did you find out if she passed away in the house or
She did pass away in the house. It was an accidental death, from what I understand.
Oh my God, that's so crazy. So
It
it's
was an
like similar
accidental
story of
death.
like
Yep.
my family's old house. It's just kind of like my mom happenstance meets the sister of the guy that used to own it, and
Yep.
finally kind of get the full story and know what the guy's name is.
I was speechless. I was like, oh, I thought I was crazy, but no, she was given she was, I don't know it was what it was she was diagnosed with, but she was taking laudanum, and she must have taken too much of it when she got into the bathtub one day, and unfortunately it was an accidental drowning. She must have been either by herself or the help in the house was just not close enough, and it only takes a small
Well,
amount
that
of
just
water.
makes the bathtub situation
It's the
sound even
same bathtub.
creepier. Yeah, no, that makes it even creepier. Holy shit!
Yep, it was the same bathtub too. And I just, even today, in the back of my head, I was like, I hope something happened that they got rid of that tub because, oh,
Or like
I
cleansed it
couldn't.
somehow. Like
Yeah,
fuck,
somehow.
do a salt
I,
bath. Did anyone put some Epsom salt in that thing?
oh, I don't know. I was sitting where someone had not only passed away, but I had seen their likeness, and I
You
never
saw
got
them
over that.
reliving probably their last moments.
Yes, absolutely. I have seen it before though. That is not the first time I have seen somebody relive their last moments.
That's insane. That
At
would
the asylum, for instance. Yeah, I have seen some stuff there that is absolutely, I would never walk up to the staff and have the balls to tell them like the stuff I've seen because they probably would think I'm crazy, but I every time
they
I go
probably
there.
confirm your stories if anything. They probably seen similar, same, or even crazier shit. I've heard. I mean, a lot of times when you see like all those ghost adventure shows, like the staff that works at like those like either old hotels or like old bar locations in the Midwest, all of them all have like these crazy. So they probably confirm your story if anything.
Maybe. I'm one of those people that like I never I've been doubted so much throughout my life that I never think about it. Um I could tell you maybe like one or two of them off the top of my head, but some of them like I feel like I've suppressed because I'm sitting here watching stuff happen to people that just I know isn't actually there anymore, but it's like firsthand witnessing stuff. Like it's like cinematic level stuff.
It's
And
probably
people are like,
probably something
there's
like
no
that, and
way.
like yeah, something like that. Probably like in the moment, it's probably like something like almost impossible to explain through
Yes.
words. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. The asylum in particular, Walter Freeman, I'm not sure if you know who he is. He was the father of the transorbital lobotomy.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yep. He was not a doctor. Fun fact, he barely knew what he was doing. And it was experimental for a very long time. A couple hundred of his lobotomies took place at Trans Allegheny.
Ugh.
Um, and a
Ugh.
lot of them did not go well, needless to say.
I don't
And
think any of
they
I don't think any of them went well.
no, probably not, all things considered. Like some people might have survived, but to say that it went well because
Well,
they
yeah.
survived is stretching it for sure.
You might have survived, but your brain don't work.
Um, they took us, I can't remember, I've been there so many times, I couldn't tell you which time it was, but they took us down into the lobotomy recovery room,
Oh,
which
that
it
just had to
is
be a
just
weird space to be in just for being like lobotomy, like knowing what the operation is, you know?
you get headaches in there.
Oh,
My
really?
like left temple started throbbing, but it's just this room where you can see where the beds were. They're
Mm.
not there anymore, but there's markings like
Okay.
rust and dirt you could
Yeah.
see. Um, and I stepped off to the side. I don't like being crowded in tour groups because that they're less likely to approach you. They're less likely to come up to you and say, like not say, but be like, hey, I have something to show you. So
Yeah.
I always try to stay in the back. My fiance hates it, by the way. But I was off to the side and I turned my head because I kept seeing something glitter. I thought it might have been something outside, but here to my side is this bed, and I know that it's not really there. Like I know what I saw when I walked into this room. And there is this man laying there, and he looks the closest to death I have probably ever seen anybody. And he's got this bandage over one half of his face, and it occurs to me that I am looking at someone who was most likely put through Freeman's, experimental treatment. This is the best way to
Yeah.
put that.
Oh,
And
that'd be
he looks
I
up at
couldn't even
me.
like try to imagine what it would be like to like see spirits like that so clearly. That
I'm so used to it now that like it's just blends into everything around me. This man looked up at me, shook his head, and the entire scene disappeared.
really? Holy shit.
I couldn't tell you if that was a no, I didn't make it, or I couldn't tell you, but everything just, and I was sitting there and the tour guide's staring at me. I can tell that she like is not, she's either not having my shit because I'm far enough away from the group, or she's like, huh, what's wrong with this one? They get all kinds of crazy people in there. Like people try to take pieces of the building. They try to take pieces of the cemetery, which is why they don't take people through there anymore. It's crazy. They've even asked tour guides for pieces of their hair.
Really?
Yeah, people who come through there, I guess they see a
Maybe we
lot
should
of
reopen the building, get these people in. That's how they got people to that get people to bring them in. You bring them in for the tour, and they figure out, then they find out who the crazy ones are. Okay.
Yeah, I was when they said that, like, so she was watching me pretty closely, and I was like, how do you tell somebody who works at this place that you're seeing stuff that they have record of, probably,
Yeah.
And I think I sent you the two audio clips that I
Yes.
have. One of them is us getting screamed at to go to bed by what I firmly believe is an orderly, and the other one is someone or something asking me for help.
Hell yeah. Do we want to listen to those now?
Yeah, you can if you want. Yeah,
Awesome. Yeah.
it's up
Which
to you,
one?
whichever you want to play first. The nurses' quarters is the help me one, and then the violent women's ward is the one where we get yelled at, I believe. So the quality is iffy, I believe, but you can definitely hear it if you do want to play those.
Okay. Hell yeah. I got the violent woman's ward one first then.
Okay,
So this is at the Trans Allegheny Lunatic Asylum.
correct. Full body view. What do you want?
Yo, I heard the come closer clear as day, but you can hear the go to bed like way off in the distance. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Oh
And there
my
was nobody
gosh.
talking but me.
Oh, that is so clear. And oh, oh, that's so cool. Oh,
I'm sorry, I don't mean to laugh, but
oh no, you're
everybody
good.
who I show that to has the same exact response. Like, you were yelled at by something. And like, we heard it in real time too, because like, my fiance is sitting across the hallway, silent as can be. She's not even moving. And she's like, did you hear that? I was like, maybe it's somebody else in the building. She's like, they have no reason to be yelling that, first
I
of
feel like
all.
that's the hardest part of doing like EVP sessions is trying to stay quiet when you do hear shit.
Yeah, she was like, did you she was like, did you hear that? She waited a couple seconds till after, and I was like, no, I heard that. I heard that. Now the nurses one is also very clear. I was not surprised because I knew the reputation of this place. But if you play that one, I think that one's gonna get you more than the previous one did, to be honest.
Hell yeah. And you said this is at the nurse's station?
Yep, it's at a nurse's station, correct.
That helped me sounded so sad.
Yep, yep. The
Aw.
thing about that is I don't believe that it's a patient. I believe that it was a member of staff, if anything. This place was not staffed properly, not at all. They were under such distress just taking care of these people that it's not on record, but if I were to, put what I know out there, it's possible that several of the staff members may have committed suicide in the building. They may have, they often turned mean. They didn't come there with the intent to be mean to these patients, but they snapped.
Oh yeah, it's probably like
And
something very similar to like the Stanford prison experiment where like, everyone knows that, it's just kind of like the experiment, but as time passes, you kind of get into that character in a sense and you just kind of switch.
yep, exactly. I cannot imagine what it was like, but that helped me still to this day. Scared me to no end, only for me to come home and believe that a nurse may have followed me coming home with me. So that's why I said I have had things come home with me. Please take protection with you. I was laying in bed by myself. My fiance works in night shift. She's a healthcare psychiatric worker, actually, believe it or not. And I'm completely by myself in this house. At this point, we only have one cat. He's not doing anything crazy. Don't have any appliances running. But this is the day after we get done with the overnight. So it's like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I want to say. She's at work and I hear this muttering, and we do live in a duplex, but it's not so thin walled that you could hear each other muttering like that. So I
Okay.
kind of sit up, but I go back to bed because I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
It's a 2-hour trip one way. So 4 hours of driving, 8 hours of ghost hunting. We got home and like barely got food in us before we went to bed. So I go back to bed and then I wake up and it's completely dark outside. My bedroom door is open. It was shut when I went to sleep. I promise you that on everything. It was shut when I went to sleep. So I'm like, okay, what is this about? I go to get up to turn on the light, and out we have a very small landing and hallway. Like I said, it is a duplex. Someone is standing
Okay.
right at the foot of the stairs, and it is not my fiance. It is a woman with red hair in a like 1950s into 60s nursing outfit. Her face is burnt, something is wrong with her, and she is just standing staring at me. Like it's not a malicious feeling, but it's not a good one either. And I was always taught that you don't really play around with stuff you don't want in your house. So I looked dead at her and was like, get the fuck out of my house.
Yeah.
You're not welcome here. Get out. You came home with me after I was very specific because when I go into places and when I leave, you have to stay here.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you can't come home with me. And apparently that did not work in this case. And I said, I told you, you could not come home with me. Go back where you came from. And I heard crying for a couple of seconds and then she was gone.
That's crazy.
And my fiance could even validate some of this. She's been with me to just about all these places. We still see what we think might be this nurse in my house. So I haven't quite gotten rid of her, but she's not making a fuss. I am willing to coexist with stuff as long as it doesn't affect me too bad.
You do you, I'll do me.
Yes.
Stick to our sides of the veil. I might see you on Halloween, but that's the only time.
Yep. Have you gone anywhere else other than Helltown?
I have not yet. Well, I mean, I've gone to Mansfield Prison a couple times, but not to like ghost hunt. I've been there for music festivals, and they do like that haunted house on Halloween. The coolest
That's
thing I've
interesting.
It was the coolest thing I've had up in there was during the haunted house. Because I was in the cell block where the inmate combusted on fire like spontaneously.
They told you he spontaneous. Oh yeah, no, he did it because his parole was denied. But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Oh, he did it because his parole was denied. He caught himself on fire for getting parole denied.
Yes.
I mean, I don't mean to laugh at that, but that's kind of sad.
It is. No, it is very yeah, he was denied parole, so he took some sort of furniture polish or something, doused himself in it and set himself on fire. I've heard and watched some stuff about that place. I've also been on a tour there. But I want to know what happened because that's interesting. So I know where you're talking about in the building.
We're in that cell block, and they had to stop everything. We had to stop mid of the haunt because I guess apparently there was a fire, like an actual fire going on. And I'm like, well, that's just crazy that we happen to be in this cell block.
A fire, just like randomly?
Yeah, just randomly somewhere in the prison, like a fire came out and they had to stop everything and like clear all the smoke and make sure everyone was kind of safe and all that kind of stuff like that. So then while we were waiting there, the haunt actors kind of stopped acting. We're all just kind of hanging out, and it kind of did affect the experience a little bit. But what happened during this kind of also made the experience. That makes sense.
It does, yeah. Like the thing you went there for might not have been going well, but something else definitely happened.
Yeah, well, like when they broke character, it kind of like it put them outside of that of like the character they were in. You know what I mean? So they were all kind of just like acting like normal again, which would make sense because it's in a time of crisis. You don't want to still be some crazy demon zombie thing,
Right.
But so we're sitting there, there's all this bullshit, and next we hear someone go across the top rails on one of the upper cell blocks.
Oh yeah, and they're all metal. Oh, ooh.
Well, so we asked because we assumed it was like one of the haunt actors, staff member, or of something of the sorts. We asked the kind of like the safety guys, I guess, that like aren't in costume or anything. They're just kind of hidden in the background in case someone gets hurt or some shit.
And security stuff like that. Yeah. I gotcha.
So he was just standing there. We asked him like, "Hey, is there anyone like above us, like the haunt actor?" He's like, "Nah, that's all condemned right now. No one's allowed up there." I was like, "Oh, well, we totally just heard someone running across." He's like, "Yeah, that's normal."
Oh, that's super creepy. That's what gets me.
Well, the coolest thing for me for that place was there was that, and then I took a photo inside one of the cell blocks while we were stopped during that time, and you can see like it's just like, and this is all the fog from like the smoke machines is cleared, but you can see like clear and concise, just hundreds upon hundreds of circle type orbs around everything.
Oh my gosh. Have you on the topic of OSR, have you ever watched These Woods Are Haunted?
No.
It's a TV show. It quit running, but I believe it's on Amazon and a couple of other platforms. There is
Okay.
an episode that is definitely about OSR, but isn't about OSR, if you get what I mean. They changed
Yeah.
some stuff around to protect
Yeah.
everything. So that makes sense. This woman is talking about how she was haunted essentially by what she believes was a hellhound that came home with her from OSR. She takes a picture while she's there, and I believe this is most likely before it's open to tours that she went. Um, but she took a picture in one of the cell blocks, and something was definitely in that picture that should not have been there, and it looked less than human.
That's crazy.
Um, and she had this thing that she, like I said, described as like a hellhound climbing up her bed on top of her. She had it almost killed her animal. It made her really sick. And it came home with her from what I firmly believe was OSR because she talks about how they transferred inmates out of the Ohio State prison at the time that was in, I believe, Columbus, because there was a massive fire and they had to displace all these inmates. So I believe she is talking, or the episode is talking about OSR. But this thing came home with her after she took a picture of it. I would have to see if I could find the picture, but once you see it, it is you can't unsee it. It is, and it was
Yeah, I would love to
taken on
see
an
that. That
older cell
sounds.
phone too.
Oh yeah, so then yeah, that I would love to see that because that just to like kind of like compare notes from like my photo to that and just see if I could see anything that I didn't see before.
Right. And the fact that you say, "Hey, I caught this inside a cell,"
Yeah,
um,
I was standing like you could I can
like she did.
yeah, I'll see if I can find it real quick.
That is terrifying. I cannot imagine. See, for me, when you know that something's already happened somewhere and you're standing in the exact same spot and something happens,
It just makes it a thousand times more like ugh. You know,
Yep.
you just don't really know how to fully feel about it. You're like, this is cool but creepy as fuck.
Yeah, and your skin crawls because you're like, this happened to somebody I don't even know,
Yeah.
you know? So how do you explain that? How do you like, just like I mean, when I lived in the South, I went to Sloss Furnaces, which is a place where people who Ghost Adventure's been there, stuff like that. It's an old iron foundry in
Oh yeah.
Alabama. It's outside of Birmingham. Um, and that's one of the first Ghost Adventures episodes I remember watching, to be honest. So, they went up to one of the furnaces and were able to hear somebody walking around. There was an overseer that they claim is there who was just a really, really bad person. And he was not nice to his workers. So eventually, it is said anyway that he was pushed into one of the furnaces by the workers. If you go
Jesus.
up there or around it, you can see him. So
Damn.
I go underneath this furnace with my fiance, and
Awesome. That's yeah. So I hate Zoom about that. I hate that they do this. I hate that the fact they charge you like 20-40 bucks a month just to get more than
no,
it's
you're fine. You're
insane.
not bothering me any. Don't worry about it.
Awesome. Well, I found the
um,
photo.
you did? Did you find
Yes.
it?
Yes, I
Oh.
did. I found the photo. But back to you were saying.
Your photo or the one online? Your photo, right?
My photo, yeah.
Okay. I definitely would love to see that because, ooh,
So
I forgot what I was saying.
well then a re-clarification on kind of the photo. So I was there's not too many orbs that you can see that I'm looking at now, but you can definitely see that like for some reason I am foggy for no reason, but everywhere else is not. If that makes sense.
That's fun. That is that is so fun.
There
That
it is.
would creep me out a little bit.
Yeah, so you can see like all around me, you can see like this kind of like fog, like haze, but then like to the left and around it, like it's not really there.
Yeah, it's like centered on you, almost like something is trying to stand in front of you while the picture
Yeah.
is being taken. That is creepy.
So yeah, this is right after that we heard someone like walking across on the top rails.
Mm-mm. Nope. No, no, especially when you know nobody is supposed to be up there. That is a no from me.
Yep, it was it's what made the rest of the night so, it made it so much cooler, but but then also with like the actors having to kind of like break character a little bit, kind of like ruined it a
Aw.
little bit. But it was definitely one of my favorite like haunted houses that I've been to. Just the
You
amount of
would
like,
love Trans Allegheny's haunted house.
oh hell yeah, hell yeah. They had
It's
the one section, like actually I think it was that same cell block for Ohio State's reformatory. They had like these kind of like circus type actors that were doing like these
oh
like
no.
crazy demon zombie clowns, but they had like these tension ropes on them so they could like bounce off these trampolines and like lunge at you and then get shot back.
Oh no.
Oh, it was so cool. Yeah.
That's creepy. Oh no. See, I don't know about all that. Like people lunging at me or the weird movements. That really gets me. Like the
I'm
disjointed, like
I'm good all the way up until it comes to grabbing me, and then it's not really a scared thing. It's a PTSD thing kind of thing where I'm just reacting to you grabbing me.
yes. Yeah. No, I feel like I can't do. I want to do a contact haunted house for like the extreme experience, but I know that I couldn't.
Ohio
Oh
State's
no.
is you get the choice. You can either get the wear the like glow stick necklace where that says, hey, we can touch you, grab you, pull you, and do whatever the fuck we want with you, or you can just have the note necklace. Like my brother, my oldest brother Sean, he did the haunt one time, and like they grabbed him and took him like behind the scenes through a bunch of different like corridors and hallways, and like he
Oh hell
popped up
no.
halfway on the other side of the fucking haunted house. It was, yeah, he was like, this is
Hell
crazy.
no. Oh no, no,
We
no,
would
thank you.
my little brother and all his friends were with us, and they were like young at the time, like I'd say like maybe fifth, sixth grade kind of age. And so anytime like the actors would come like in the cell blocks, like where they're more open, we would just throw the kids at them, and they'd take them into the cell blocks, and it'd be all dark, and you just see them,
Oh no. Aw,
and it just
see.
looks like the most picturesque like movie moment where you see the kid getting dragged into the shadows.
That's I shouldn't. That's mean. I should.
Oh, you can laugh all you. It was
It's funny.
hilarious. It was hilarious. There was one
I don't know.
section where like a tower guard, I guess you could say, like
Uh-huh.
blasted some like blank rounds off inside the cell, and so that scared the crap out of him. You saw those kids hit the ground so quick.
I'm sorry, but that is kind of funny.
Oh, it
I
was
hate to
so
say it,
funny.
but oh God. Oh no. See, I say that like I didn't just recently go to like homegrown haunt here and let somebody hold a chainsaw like 2 inches away from my face and like splatter me in blood.
Chainsaws is where it gets
But
my fiance. My fiance hates the sound of chainsaws.
yeah, my fiance actually had an accident as a child with a chainsaw and has scars on her face from it, but she was not afraid at all. She was like totally cool with it. And then when we actually went
That's
through
where
the
you point
haunt
out the
part
scar
of
and
it,
said, "Been here before, homie. Do yeah,
she was just like loving it. But then we got on the actual hayride, and she could hear him in the distance, and she was over there cringing. And I was like, "You had that thing like an inch from your face. What are you afraid of?" But yeah, I mean, I would totally like being chased and grabbed. I think if I could like hold back the like knee-jerk reaction, it would be cool. But I don't know. I'd be shoving other people in the way
I always end
like
up
you guys
laughing.
did.
I always end up laughing and start pushing people in front, like helping the haunt actors out in a sense, trying to scare other people with them. I enjoy haunted house for the most sadistic, in a sense, reasons.
I don't know. Like I am always at the end of the line. My fiance, if we're at the end, like last year when we went to Trans Allegheny, they do it in one of the buildings on the property. Like this is not like a like kitschy little. They do it and they keep with the like asylum and hospital theme and stuff. So
That's
we're at
awesome.
the end of the line, and she's like, "Oh no, you're in the back. You're in the back." I was like, "I hate you right now because you know what happens at the back. You know
Someone
what
comes up
happens at the
behind
back."
you.
Yeah,
Someone
so
comes up out of nowhere.
so we're going through this haunt, and I don't know where she came from. I really don't. But this girl dressed up as a nurse comes around the like swings herself around the stairs and just starts in on me. And for whatever reason, we're stopped. I don't know if they stopped us to like play out something ahead of us or if we just had a group, and I don't know, but like I had nowhere to go, and she just like kept talking at me and like getting as close to me as I feel like they were allowed to. And then I don't know what, she scares back up the stairs is the only, and she's gone, and I'm just like, oh no, no, no. And we come around the corner, and there's I don't even remember what exactly was going on, but there's a bunch of like patient style actors, and one of them was dressed up like a spider, and my fiance is terrified of spiders, so I grabbed her and like shoved her in front of me
Oh,
around the
that's
corner.
awesome.
And she was like, "I hate you so much." But my thing is like I talk back to the actors.
Yep,
Like
I do the same thing. As a metal vocalist, it's hard not to scream back.
I don't have that type of talent, but like as like someone who like just that's like my I write horror. I read and watch horror. Like it doesn't usually get to me, but we had like at the beginning where the doctor lets you into this place and stuff, and he said something to me along the lines of like, "Oh, if you come out the other side," and I was like, "I certainly hope
I
so."
fucking better. I fucking paid for this shit.
I better. And then he disappeared like around the door. Like I don't know if there's like a drop, like what was going on. He was gone. I was like, no, no, where did
That's always
that
been
was at
my
the
thing. I always
end.
end up getting distracted by like, how the hell did you just disappear? Where the fuck did you go?
Yes, like I sit there and I'm like, where did you go? How did you do this? There was one girl climbing up the wall at this place and hanging off the ceiling, and like they're strapped down to these beds, like thrashing around all night long. How are you doing that? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, my voice would be destroyed afterwards.
Oh yeah, and then they like I have a friend who's a haunt actor, and like she'll go and like all weekend, screaming, doing her thing, jumping around, whatever. And then like she'll send like a voice message on Discord, or we'll call and talk or something, and she'll sound like nothing happened. And it's like, how do you?
See,
Oh
I can
no.
do that in a sense when it comes to like doing my shows, when it comes to just like screaming. Like I can scream for a couple hours and be fine. But I always get way too into it and push way too hard a lot of times when it comes to like the haunts places. Like if I see like a haunt actor do a pretty gnarly like growl to me, I'm like, oh, my turn, and I'll do them back. And they always get them getting pissed at me because I do them back at them, and they're typically just as loud.
That's
I'm a very
funny.
tiny I'm a very tiny frame person, so like me being a metal vocalist is just not
Like, where did
something.
that come from?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's always like, how the fuck did you just get so fucking loud? I was like, I wrestled for 14 years. I had to scream across a gymnasium.
You did what? You
But,
wrestled?
yeah, I wrestled for
Oh,
14
that's
years.
right. Yeah, you did. You did. I remember that. I had to scream across the gymnasium. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like I That's too funny. I'm imagining that in my head. Just like I've seen a picture of you that I think is fairly recently. You said it was from OSR. And then like
Yeah.
I know what metal vocals sound like. I actually found one or two of your guys' songs on Spotify. I
Hell yeah, thank
think
you.
I've been on like your little videos and stuff like that too. My fiance's super into metal music, so she did ask me where the best platform to find your music is. Like, is it live recordings on YouTube or?
So we got stuff everywhere. We got a couple show recordings on YouTube. But we're on all streaming platforms for when it comes to like actual like records. So we have Spotify, YouTube, Apple
Yeah, I found you on
Music,
Spotify, so
Amazon Music. We're on pretty much. We should be on just about
awesome.
anything and everything you can think of. And if you want, we just actually just got a brand new track sent back to us from our producer. If you want to hear,
Oh, yes, of course I do. I
oh yeah,
can't live without music, so.
I'm the same way. So this song is called "Carry Me," and it's gonna be going on our upcoming EP called
Ooh,
Funny thing, kind of goes in sense what we're talking about right now, but the EP is called Ghost Tapes.
I love that. Oh, that's so cool.
The Ghost Tape reference comes from one of our songs. It's a sample we used in it. There, have you ever heard of the Ghost Tapes from like Vietnam? Vietnam,
Yes.
like what they did back during like the Vietnam War and stuff like that.
Super creepy, but yes.
Yes. So we sampled the Ghost Tape number 10,
Oh, oh,
and
that's
so we
gonna be
used.
interesting.
It sounds so horrifying and so good at the same time.
Now, is it this track that you're gonna play, or is it a
No,
different
this
one?
one that's a different one that has the Ghost Tapes. That's just happens to be what the EP title is, and kind of like
Okay.
just all in reference of what we're talking about. This song though is called "Carry Me." It has the cool. I think for like cool, we do like to mess around with a lot of like cool samples and like making our own samples. So this one uses air raid sirens from World War II from the Blitzkrieg, and it also has cannon fodder and gunshots in the background from the last minute of World War One.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. So this one, it's gonna sound probably like stupid loud. So I'm gonna hope I can get the audio to sound decent. So let's see if we can get this to work.
Technology is fun when it works, but when it doesn't.
So that's carrying me. It's a little good minute of it. It's about a 4-minute song.
I didn't hear anything. Did it maybe not come through, or did you
Ooh,
send it to me?
it might not have come through then. I can send it to you actually, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll take a listen to it. That way you don't have to. Zoom is fun when it works, but when it doesn't,
Well,
like I
what I'm
said.
doing is I'm playing it from my phone, and then
Oh, I
I
gotcha.
have a microphone that I use, and so I have the pre-gain on it blasted, so I can try to pick up more. But all's well, it's done well. We can just copy and paste it.
Okay. Let me see here.
There you go. I just sent it over to you. So
Let me see if I can get it.
tell me about the other
Go
book.
ahead.
We talked about the Allegheny Asylum book and all that kind of craziness that goes along with the paranormal. I want to let's hear about the other book.
So the other book actually has a ton, and I mean a ton of Norse mythology in it.
Oh hell
That's why I
yeah,
got so excited.
that's so
It's
cool. Hell yeah,
actually more history and lore than it is Norse mythology.
hell yeah.
But as I said, I write a lot of horror and supernatural aspects. One of my specialties as a writer, like it's just I also write with my fiance, fun fact. But
That's so cool.
one of my specialties is undead characters, vampires, revenants, draugr, things like that. So I have a novel that is based on an Icelandic legend, and an Irish legend.
Ooh, so cool.
They are
Which legends?
so the Icelandic legend is actually it's about witchcraft, so right in your alley, there. It's about a character, a person, whatever you might want to call him, from Icelandic folklore called Galdra Lofter. He is he's a badass of the time, he's good at what he does,
Hell yeah.
but he is power hungry. Oh, he is not happy with what he has.
Typical
And
Norse.
getting yeah, yeah, right? Like Norse witches are like
But just typical
crazy
Norse in
bent.
general. Everyone wants power in the Norse age.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. And he's 16, 1700s. To give you an idea of where he's
Okay,
at there.
yeah,
So Georgian period, I want to say.
yeah.
Um, so he is off the chain about getting, a hold of some crazy stuff. There is a bishop. I cannot say his name. His first name anyway, I'm not even gonna try, but his last name is Niklausen. He is known for having created one of the darkest grimoires in history of mankind, let alone Norse mythology.
Oh, the
It is
Devil's
called
Bible.
the the Red-Skinned Book, um, also known as the
Is that one?
Road-Skinna.
Is that what I'm thinking of? The monk that had like got sealed away in a wall and prayed
No,
to.
different,
Okay,
different, but
different
yeah.
book. Okay, gotcha.
This bishop is buried with this book after he writes it. It is said to give any witch or sorcerer who gets their hands on it the power to control hell and everything in it and the devil,
Oh yeah.
himself. It is bound in red leather, which is suspected by historians to actually be red dyed human skin. They're not sure. They haven't found it to my knowledge that it actually ever existed. It was also the outside of the pages were supposedly gold and it was written in some sort of golden ink, if my research is correct. He wanted his hands on this book. In order to get your hands on this
I
book,
want
you
my
had
hands on
to
this book.
read, right? Just to read it.
Yeah.
Um,
Just to even say I found it.
right. So it
That
was a
like that
big
get
thing,
that takes me like those old like kind of like uh I'm looking at it right now. I can't think of the author's name. Cthulhu.
Lovecraft.
Yeah, it reminds me of, like the Lovecraft kind of stories where like you'd have these wanderers who are going
Yes.
out and they find these objects that at first they had no fucking clue what they were, and it turns out they're summon Cthulhu or summon something.
Yep. So this bishop is buried with this.
Oh, that's
He
so cool.
is he is holding his book for dear life, and in order to get this book, you have to outsmart him. Mind you, he is considered like the biggest of the big bads. You gotta really, really into it to get this book from
Okay.
him. So Lofter tries, and he fails. So here is where my story comes in. He has, it is legend that he had a daughter by way of a woman he was not quite married to yet. And the actual legend states that he killed both the daughter and the child. So I took this legend, and essentially I made it I plugged in all of my own little touches to it. He had a daughter, and he decided, if I can't get the book, I'm going to create something that can.
Okay.
So it is not a kitschy, fun, easy to digest story. I do write horror and scary, so I say that as a precursor. He does kill her. He waits until she turns a certain age. He does use an ancient Norse method of bringing back the dead, which includes some staves, if you have any knowledge of that at all.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's so
some
cool.
very crazy stuff. He part of the story or the plot device is how he kills her, so I won't ruin that for you, but it is pretty brutal. He brings her back, and he essentially trains her up as, and she, in this day and age, she is known as the most powerful Galder master in the world. There is nobody who can beat her. Her
Okay.
mother is I'm not sure how familiar you are with Norse mythology. You said you're pretty, so you might know what I'm talking about here. Her mother is actually the vulva who was buried at the gates of hell that Odin consults about Ragnarok.
I know the story you're talking about, but yes, okay, hell yeah, that's so cool.
So I'm talking, and the other character is a handmaiden of death. She is basically how I have it set up. They're assigned to certain people, certain areas, certain, kind of like a police officer, if you think about it. Like, they have their beat, they do their thing.
Yep.
And you were talking about fate earlier. The basis of this is the Norns basically weaving them together from the beginning. She knows what's going to happen, but she can't do anything about it. Death has to stay neutral. So they basically grow up together. This person who is fated to die and come back, and this person who is supposed to carry her soul to the afterlife.
Okay.
She's not a Valkyrie. For a Northman, for instance, she would take them to the hill where the Valkyrie meets them, and the Valkyrie would take them to Valhalla. She
Okay,
doesn't.
yeah.
She's an usher, basically.
Yeah.
She's been assigned to his daughter and has to basically spend years watching him just do some crazy shit to her to try to get her to a point where he feels she can get this book. Well, she comes back, she gets her hands on the book. And from there on, things go wild because opening this book alone is not a good idea. Like, let alone using what is inside of it. And in order to, I wouldn't say get revenge on her dad, but to give him what he deserves and put him back where he belongs, drag him to hell, she has
Yeah.
to open up this book to figure out how to do it. Unfortunately, a lot of stuff happens after that. You've opened some crazy things. A lot of mythological Nordic stuff, a lot of mythological Irish stuff comes into play. And this other character, who is attached to the daughter, that's her job. She has to, because she is attached at the hip to this, she's called the Devil's Daughter in Icelandic. I can't say it, but she basically has to follow her and clean up behind her. And it's just it gets crazy pretty fast. I'm still
Yeah,
in the
that sounds
process of writing it, so I'm not sure which way.
this sounds amazing so far.
Oh, thank you. The story comes from, it's not just a story. For me, my abusive ex-girlfriend and I started this concept together.
Hell yeah, what kind of got you you said the stories are kind of like got the whole, I guess you could say, like the baseline of the story arc. What kind of got you inspired to write something along these lines using the mix of Norse and, because it's really cool that you're mixing Norse and Irish mythology together.
So we sat down one day and we wrote together. I've always written with my life partners, my people,
Okay.
little stories, stuff like that. Whether it was passing back a notebook back and forth using Google Docs, writing chapter and then giving it to someone else to write it. We've always done something. And then we started it together. I came up with the concept of, it started from such a basic concept. I was young, okay, but I wanted to have this character who was an Irish archaeologist. She moves into this house in Iceland and she comes across the book. And attached to the book is this ghost, this spirit, this revenant. And that revenant was supposed to be his daughter. That's where it started.
That's a cool idea in itself too. Holy shit.
I appreciate that. The relationship did not go well. It was very bad. My entire life got ruined from it. And I
Oh, I'm
sat
so sorry
down
about that.
this concept and I thought, I'm never going back to it. I can't, And in the past 2 to 3 years, I've came back to it and decided this is going to be more than just a novel for me. It's going to be a healing journey.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
And it has just so much. The main character, Maeve, is based off of me so much. She has so much of my mannerisms, so much of my insecurities, so much of, everything. So I am using it to heal myself, but I'm also using it to tell stories. I have Scotch-Irish heritage. So I get to add all these cool little aspects into this, like Irish Irish fairies, stuff like that. And then I do not know that I have Nordic heritage, but it is possible given
If you have
that
Irish
the parts
history,
of
if you have Irish or
yes.
Scottish history, I can guarantee you do.
Yep. And the
Guarantee you
areas
do.
Yep, but the areas that my families are from in Scotland and Ireland are very heavily Nordic influenced. So
Oh yeah,
um
I think was it the 1100s that they went out? Yeah, it was 1100s
I want to
like when they
say, yeah.
killed it. So yeah, by the 1100s they had I think at least 89% of England and like Europe, like the English Isles, and
Oh
then
yeah, definitely.
they were fucking the Scots and Irish up all the fucking time.
Oh yeah. I forget what town it was now, but in my research I found a town that fought back. I laughed so hard when I read this, but they had the Vikings come in and do their thing, like this is my town now. Well, the women were just not having it. So they went around collecting fire pokers, broomsticks, and swords. And it was the women of this town, of this Scottish town, I believe, who fought back against the Vikings. And I don't know if there's only a certain amount of them. I don't know,
That's
but
cool
they
as fuck.
managed to drive them back, and they
That's
didn't come
impressive
back.
too. That's
Yeah,
impressive because those
and
motherfuckers are fucking brutal.
yeah, for the sake of my writing, I've done so much research into the fighting, into like and how they and
I do a
I
lot of historical reenactment. So the kind of persona I take place when I do my reenactments is like a Norse kind of persona.
that is awesome. I kind of want to know a little bit more about that. What are you reenacting?
Yeah, so it's called the organization is called the SCA. It's a Society of Creative Anachronism. It's a worldwide
Ooh,
organization. We do everything from we recreate all aspects of life from the 14th century and before.
that sounds
So
like so much
from
fun.
the arts and science, smithing, armor, fighting, from both aspects to heavy fighting and fencing. We even have
That is so cool.
every year we have what's called Penzik, and it's like a 900 almost. It's a full on like actual reenactment of the Penzik Wars. But we have at least I think this past year we had over I think we had over 500 people for each army.
That is awesome. That
Yeah,
has got to
it's
be crazy to be a
it's a
part of.
it's a massive camping week, and it's 2 weeks long. It's the first week is kind of just like everyone's getting there and doing like the pre kind of stuff you would do before war, and then the second week is the fight week, and it's just all out. Every day is a battle. There's woods battles. There's fort battles. It's so much fun. There's archery. They just added I believe they just added jousting to it. They just added archery to the actual full field combat.
That's so cool.
Oh yeah, so that
That
part
is
of the fencers
crazy.
is you have all the fencers, and then you'll have a bunch of like bowmen with them, and it's so cool seeing these massive lines of it's the coolest. If you like medieval times or just history like that in a sense of like when it comes to like sword fighting and
I
hearing the
do.
sound of armor clinking, it's the coolest thing ever. I found it when I was in college, and it's if you can honestly probably if you go on to sa.org, they have like their first like homepage kind of thing is actually like a map, and you can type in like your address or like where like your
I'm just gonna
closest like
ask where this kind of stuff was located because it
yeah,
sounds
it's
like it'd be
everywhere.
right up
It
my
is
alley.
it is everywhere, and they have every organization or so it's all it's gonna
And you
sound
said it's
very
Society of Creative Actorism?
anachronism.
Anachronism. Okay. I wanted to make sure that was it before I typed that in so
You
I didn't
should be
go
able to
down
just
some.
do like sca.org or just SCA. It'll come up pretty
ca.org. Okay, that is so cool. See, I don't know why, but like when I started the process of writing with Hal and Maeve, which are my characters for my novel, I started down this hole with like medieval fighting and especially Viking style fighting.
So
So
yeah, so
I
I completely reenact all the aspects of the armor they would have worn. So I don't wear any leg armor. I barely wear chest armor, besides like what I
That
have
is
to wear for like
crazy.
the rules and stuff like that. And oh, I've when I was doing the heavy fighting, I shattered my first tournament I did. I shattered my thigh. I got a kickboxer's fracture in my thigh. Completely shattered it. My whole from my hip
Oh
to my
my
knee was
gosh.
yeah, from my hip to my knee was all purple and green. And
Oh, and how did that happen?
so for the heavy fighting, the armor can be either made out of any material you can kind of and whatever material you can get your hands on is what you can make the armor out of. There's just certain kind of like padding regulations that kind of go into it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, just got a random text that popped up that shouldn't have.
Oh, you're good. You are fine.
Um, but we use solid bamboo. It's called rattan is the bamboo. It's a solid bamboo is what we use for the heavy fighting swords, and so it's these basically giant wood sticks that are probably an inch thick in thickness, I'd say. Yeah, typically around like an inch in diameter, I'd say. But that's what we use. And so I was just no leg armor, and the type of shield I had was a English kite shield. And so with those English kite shields, they just like to glance into your leg.
Mm.
And the person I was fighting was a kind of like Middle Eastern Persian type um, armor set. So he bent his rattan to have that kind of bent style look of the sabers. And so
Oh
every time
no.
he'd get that hook shot on my leg or on the shield, trying to go around that curve, that freaking sword would smack the. Oh my god, it would smack me
Right
so.
where you were already hurt. Oh
It would
my
just go
gosh.
right into the same spot. I had a full indentation of every single sword hit you could see on my leg. It was so bad.
I'm
So
sure it's regulated, but not not
so
too much, it seems.
it's all honor based. So there is certain regulations for like padding and stuff like that. So like you have to have like all joints have to be has some kind of padding or armor on them. The helmet is all actual real steel helmets. Um you can kind of go any size or any strength steel you can want to. It's just all depends on personal preference for like how heavy it is and kind of and what you're trying to do with it. But even then, the helmets they have, not only they have like football style kind of helmet padding in them, but they have concussive padding in them. They have the same kind of
That's good.
padding.
That's good at least.
Yeah, you'd have the same kind of padding you'd have for like the military's helmets for like grenade blasts. So you're in a sense you're protected, and you're the one that gets to say, "Oh, I'm done. That hurt too much."
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask. Like,
You also want it to hurt a little bit. So the way like the rule kind of goes for like gauging how someone gets pointed or not is it's an honor based system. So you call your opponent's shots, and your opponent's goal is to hit you as hard as they can, but not like hurt you as hard as they can, but to enough where
I
you're like,
gotcha.
oh yeah, if this was a real sword, that would have killed me, or that would have taken off my arm, or done something. You know what I mean?
I gotcha. Fatal blows or destructive blows. I
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah.
Makes
And so
sense.
like if you lose an arm, it's just like Monty Python. I take an arm away, or I go down to a knee and stuff like that. So I could probably I'll send you some. Well, I'll find them after we're done here, but I can send you a bunch of videos from like my old
Of
heavy armor
course, I
fighting
love
days.
seeing that stuff. I love seeing that stuff. That's
Well,
so cool.
yeah, and so since I broke my when I broke it, but like I destroyed my thigh. I was like, all right, it's time to go into something not as cussive. So I went over to the fencing side and I fell in love. Just that feeling of the swords binding and feeling that the metal bind together. And it's something you can't like really describe. Yeah, I couldn't really describe the feeling of when you're actually like sword fighting someone. Because like for me, the
So do you
coolest
take
part.
HEMA to learn that?
No, oh, you could do HEMA. It's all on personal preference. So we do a lot of um uh depending on where you're at and who's kind of like the top fencer guy or whoever is running the fencing side of the practices, kind of will typically most days they'll go over like certain fighting styles, certain manuscripts. For me myself, I read I can't remember which the title of the manuscript, but it was a German two-handed and single-handed sidearm sword
Gotcha. Oh, two-handed
manuscript.
swords are so cool.
Yeah, and so with it being a Germanic style, it is all plant my feet. I'm not moving until you make me move.
Yeah.
And it's so fun with fighting that way with two-handed. Because it was you would I'm trying to think how would I describe this. My favorite move is called a French forge, or I can't remember what the actual name of it is, but it's basically when someone goes to try to stab you, you take the sword, you push it up, your sword, the tip of it will come down towards your elbow, like you're trying to like,
Mhm.
and while you're glancing by, you'll come back around and do either you can just do a stab, slash, or just kind of wherever you can land, but where you want to try to go for. But you push the blade out of the way and come back around, and that's my favorite move. And I figured out how to do it perfectly in any kind of situation. And so
I
with
feel
the
like it's
German,
satisfying to watch.
oh yeah, the one video I'll send you of me of actually fencing, you'll see me do it a bunch of times in the video. It's kind of like that, like typical like pirate sword fighting move.
I gotcha. Yeah.
But doing
Yep.
that with the German style, you just be standing there and it would be perfect because someone would try to come in and just because it's fencing, so someone's gonna try to come in and stab you, and so they would come in and I would wait and they wouldn't know what to do because a lot of the people I'd fight were same kind of experience where they were still new and learning a lot of the stuff, and so me kind of having like a somewhat grip at the time. I was like, all right, let's fuck with people. I'm gonna not move until you make me move, and then as soon as you
I
make me
love
move,
that.
my sword's gonna go flying, and my sword's got like 4 feet of reach. So good luck.
Yeah, it's gonna take a little bit to get you completely down. So you said that you specialize in like the Germanic and the Viking stuff, right? Have you seen the Northmen, the
Yes, the
movie?
TV. Yes. Oh yeah. I love that movie. Oh my god, I love
So
that movie.
how accurate? So their fight at the end. Oh, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but the fight at the end where he's just going at it with his uncle at the gates of hell. Is that accurate fighting? Like, is it like the movements that I am
Memory, I
also
believe
autistic,
so.
so I notice stuff like small stuff in like movies that other people don't. So like the fight at the end and then the fight that he has with the mound dweller, like are those reasonable fight scenes or were they really just out there and somatic? Like
Memory, I would say yes. Just off of my memory, I'd have to watch them again to really kind of give a detail. The movie I know of that has like the best true historical sword fighting is actually the one I know of is I can't remember the name of the movie. I'm the worst when it comes to names, but it's the movie with the Antigua Montoya.
oh yeah, the Princess Bride.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that actually has very, very historically accurate fencing in it.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I was curious if you would maybe known anything about that because I remember watching that in theaters and just being like, "Oh my God, like that is crazy brutal."
I believe so. I believe so because everyone that was worked on the Northmen were all historical, like people that worked on the for music. It was the same people that worked on the Vikings TV show. It's a lot of the actors were Scandinavian, so I believe so. But I'd have to watch it again just to kind of like to give like a good verify or a good opinion on
I
it.
get it. Yeah, I don't know. I just when you said that they were brutal about everything, and then you were like, "Oh yeah, that's the way I fight." Like that would be so cool to watch, just to see people do that.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
So I'm gonna have to look
More
into that.
and it's honestly not surprised there is a lot of people in SA that do a Norse kind of persona, and there's some beastly mothers that I wouldn't even want to fight just from just how crazy they are before the pre-fight. Oh, it's
Ah,
there
what
was
do you mean crazy before that? Like,
like screaming and just being all like berserkish, and I guess you say they
to let
fully,
it out, I guess.
yeah, they fully let out the berserk. And there's some guys who are like, I know your skill level and I know that you can move in ways I don't understand yet, so I'm not even gonna
Oh
try.
no.
Oh yeah, you'd see
Oh
these people that
man.
look like they're in their 70s, but then you'd not to sound mean, but you'd kind of have that cognition of like, oh, this, he's an older guy, he's not gonna move that much, he's not gonna be able to hit hard or any kind of like stuff. And you'd see these dudes be able to like bend sideways, do like some like matrix kind of like bend backwards kind of shit to block like
Oh
to,
yeah.
and it'd be it's the most insane and fun stuff to watch because like my favorite part of it is when you go to like the events, they kind of force you to partake. So if
You
you're
don't have a
there,
choice.
Yeah, in a sense. So like not partake in like the fighting or any of that kind of sense, but you have to wear period clothing.
I'm down for that. I love period clothing, especially
And
the dresses, you know?
yeah, and they have, and even if you don't have your own, they have tons and tons of loner clothes, loner gear. When it comes to the fighting, the only thing you actually have to have on you, like for like your like if to go fight, is a cup, like a, you know what I mean, like a football cup or like a
Yeah.
sports cup. Yeah.
Yeah, that's weird. I'm surprised it's not a helmet or like a helm of some sort.
So like, yeah, so like yeah, if you want to get your own gear, obviously eventually yeah, you get your own stuff. But they have, I mean, most baronies, that's the part I was trying to go into earlier, is that we take it kind of very nerdy, right? We take it very
I saw on the
historical.
website.
Yeah, so every organization is called a barony. We have all the different baronies, different realms. There's
The Shires.
each realm has their own king and queen. Each baron has their own baron and baroness. Uh, and we also do my best. I guess the best way I always try to describe it, like the way like the events go, is watching A Knight's Tale. You
I
get to
haven't seen that in
basically like
forever.
yeah. So like, that's like the best way I could like describe the events, is like living in A Knight's Tale.
That's so cool.
There's
The closest
feasting.
one to me is in Greene County.
Hell yeah. So yeah, there's feasts. There's always a feast. There's always courts. And court, it kind of gets boring, but it's really freaking cool at the same time, especially when you get that one chance you finally get to call up and go and like kneel in front of the king and get awarded something.
Oh, that's so
Yeah, it's
cool.
so cool. I was very lucky to somehow win the novice fencing championship last year. And I got a cool little when it comes to like the awards, they also try to like, so the it's like a scroll or like certificate of like of what you did. It's
That is
all
so
it's
cool.
handmade, it's hand calligraphied, it's hand all the art's hand painted and done on it. If you're like, so a lot of people, if you are like, depending on which persona you take, they will also adapt the awards to that persona. So if you're like a Japanese persona, they will write in Japanese characters in that scroll properly to what it would be for if it was an actual like old Japanese scroll, and they would have everything historically accurate on it. Or if it was the Norse, they would write everything in the old runes and old Futhark.
That is
Yeah,
so incredibly cool.
it's
Every
yeah,
little detail.
it's amazing. And everyone cares that much, so everything is beautiful. The clothes are all handmade, the arts and crafts, like, so like when you give awards, my bad, so I get back to what I was saying, when they give the awards, they try to give them the awards that they give nowadays, they try to, in a sense, be as what they would have done back in the old days. So like, it wasn't, this massive rapier I got for winning the championship, but it was a gold and silver letter opener, but it was in the style of a rapier,
That is so cool.
right? And then they'll give
Like
you like,
genuinely so cool.
yeah, and so if anyone's ever new at the events too, they'll have everyone that's new that comes up, and they get a bunch of free shit. So like, I got like my first event I went to, I got this cool handmade. So sorry about that again.
Oh, don't worry about it. Like I said, no problem. It's not like you made the rules,
Yep.
presume.
So where were we? We're
You're talking about the rewards. You had gotten a letter opener, and that's all I heard before it cut off.
okay, yeah. So I got the letter opener, and then when you're new to the events, they have everyone that's brand new to either brand new to the SCA or first time ever going to an SCA event. They'll have them come up, and they'll just give them a bunch of shit. And it's like
Ooh,
the one time I got a handmade clay cup. And then the other time
that's
I've
cool.
gotten this other event I went to. So besides uh the rapier I also got a like a mug with it, like a handmade clay mug, and they're all like, you can go and talk to the person. You can look at the bottom and go, oh, I recognize that initials. I'm gonna go talk to the artist that made it, because she's right down the road, like right down in like the outside at her um
And
which
they do it in like the old style, like some of
yeah,
them,
yeah,
or
that's all.
oh,
It's
that's
all
so cool.
everything is
Incredible.
historically accurate. It's made the same way they would have made it back then. Everything, yeah, everything is done to completely recreate the lifestyle. It's so
I
it's my favorite thing to talk about. I could talk to you about
oh
this for
my
hours.
gosh. Do they have blacksmithing demonstrations or anything like that? Because I am so into the metalworking and
Almost every single guy that's there and female will probably either have their own smith or know one of the guys that's a smith themselves.
I would lose myself talking to people for hours. Like I just have
Oh
to
yeah.
know everything. Like
And they're the most helpful people too. They will help you if you need to help build something. They will show you how to help. They'll show you how to do it. They'll sit there and do it with you. It's the most for someone that like when I left the military, I was I'm always trying to kind of refine that family kind of organization. You know what I mean? And that's where I found it again. That organization is such a family kind of place to be. It's the best place to be.
I feel like having, whether it's, in your case, like this SCA, or like having like a group of ghost hunters, or just people like your band, stuff like that, like even not just for people who have been in the military and experienced that, but just like, you move out of high school and you lose everybody and you're like, what do I do now? Where do
Yep.
I find my little group and stuff? That's so cool that you have that. I know it's probably does a lot for you adjusting into the civilian life and stuff too, which I hope it has.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because a lot of the members are also a few of them are prior service. So you just that camaraderie you get just helps you kind of
You find it again.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's so cool. That's awesome. And I'm so happy for you that you have that. It's
And they
so
they would probably they
enriching.
would definitely I would definitely reach out to them just to like when you're for your research for your book too, because um all the fighting we do, it's all historical movements, it's historical strategies.
That's
Um,
great.
yeah, it's practicing a kill wall or a kill well or what's it called, a kill pit is so fun. Do you know what a kill pit is?
What is that? No, I
So,
don't, but
so
now I'm
kill pit
curious.
kill pit is basically it's a type of it's something you would do if you were in like a building, like in a hallway, or if the enemy has to come through like a doorway or a very tight like walkway. If that makes sense.
Hmm.
And so on each side, you have your team line up, and so anytime someone comes in, it's die, die, die.
Oh.
It's a kill hole. Anytime someone comes in, they die. It is very hard. It's you don't have to do it through a doorway. You can set these up in like a straight line too, and it's a very hard thing to fight against.
I imagine, like, how do you don't come out the other side alive? Like, it's
Oh yeah,
just
no, typically you don't. A lot of our training when it comes to like when it comes time for like getting ready for Prensic or any of the kind of like pre-war maneuvers and stuff like that, where we start going to see other baronies and fighting them. Oh, we get so competitive and so militarized. It turns, instead of being like a normal fight practice where everyone's just fighting each other and just having fun. No, we're practicing movements. We're practicing 2-on-1 drills, 3-on-1 drills, 3-on-3 drills, 2-on-2 drills.
I
It's
would have so much fun. I would get lost in something like that. I feel
Oh yeah, you
like
can. It's so easy to get lost doing stuff with them. Like my favorite fight the one time was doing one of those where it's a 2-on-1. Had to basically fight off two people by myself with a great sword, and that's not easy to do because great
bury
swords.
yourself in your head as like one of your favorite Norse characters or something and just go at it.
Yep, yep. That's basically what I had to do. I had to just like, all right, I'm gonna punch through both of them real quick, just try to break past them so I can build some space, and then as soon as they come at me, it's guns. It's a swinging away.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like so much. I don't know that I could ever do, like, I feel like my anxiety would stop me. But I feel like it's got to be so much fun.
It is
And
the
you're like
most welcoming
standing.
places and family places. I had the same kind of thought where like I was kind of anxious to go do it, like go out there myself and meet the people before I like knew anyone, and I was like just kind of threw
That's me.
myself yeah, I just kind of threw myself into it, and they were so welcoming and so warm about it. It's an amazing organization.
He's got to be like, okay, I'm doing this today. I'm gonna go.
You don't even have to, you honestly, you all you have to do is just show up, don't say anything, and someone will come up to you. I'm not even joking.
I am keeping that in mind because I'm very much interested in this. I didn't know something like this existed, but I'm that one, like, I don't want to say pick me, but I gotta be the one that tries to figure out how to like fight in a dress or something.
Right.
I've got to be like that chick from the Lord of the Rings who's got like she's dual wielding swords and in a
Oh,
dress.
and you'd see it. It's the craziest thing too. Like there's a lot of like it actually fighting in a dress is actually very smart because you could use it as a cloak in a sense to where you can wrap your dress around someone else's
Hmm.
weapon, brush it away, or use your dress to deflect their eyes so now they can't see you coming at them. It's oh yeah, there's
I have my character fighting like that. One of them in my yeah,
oh
that
hell yeah,
Maeve
that's
is
so
the
cool.
smaller one. So she, you have Hal who's like the brute force like Viking, and then you have Maeve. She's wearing like 3 layers, like using one of them to like trap people and stuff. And
Oh yeah, the
yeah,
most
so like
annoying people to fight in fencing are the ones that have a cloak because they'll just take it off and then throw it at you. I'm not even joking.
Oh,
That is a legit tactic in a manuscript, is throw your cloak at someone.
oh yeah, like you tangle them all up and you have time like in a real fight to run away or like something. I
Well, no,
guess. So
it's
like,
meant to, what the meant is you throw it at them, and so there's two ways they can do it. They can either walk away from it, and that opens that space, that opens them up that way, or they got to put their sword into it and push it away, and that opens them up. Now they're distracted with this blanket, and it's typically wrapped around, so it's like fuck, get off. By the time I'm saying fuck, get off, I have a sword through my chest.
that's great. I hate how simple it is and how well it would work, but that's so
Simple and
great.
effective. Yeah, it's insane.
That's so funny.
My
Just throw
favorite part
whatever.
though, my favorite part is like you get to die and then walk away and tell the story of how you got killed. And so like there was one time I was fighting someone and he lost balance and basically ran his dagger into my face. He's like, "Oh my
Oh.
god, I'm so sorry. That was way too hard." I was like, "No, that was cool as fuck." He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Dude, I just watched the dagger go flying into my face, get hit by said dagger because I couldn't do a single fucking thing to stop it, and then walk away and laugh about it. That was cool as hell."
That is cool. That's like, and do you walk around telling people that you're deadly at this?
Oh yeah, when it comes to like our kind of something like reference to like a nice tale. One of our tournaments we have is called like the name of it is blanking on me, but the whole point of the tournament is it's a tournament of honor. So the
Oh,
ladies of the court are the ones who decide who are the winners, and
that's funny.
the whole point of it is to basically act as much as you can and be entertaining and honorable as much as you can. And so before each fight, you'd go, I am so and so of of wherever, and blah, blah blah, and I'm here. You state the reason why you're fighting or who you're fighting for, if you have like a partner or something like that. And so like my name in the
Oh,
essay is my name is what's my name? Yeah, so my name is Hrafn Bragison.
oh, I
If you
like that.
So Hrafn means raven, or also it means quarry in Old Norse,
Mm-hmm.
and then Bragi is the god of poetry, god of music.
That makes perfect sense. Yep.
And within the Norse surnames, your last name typically was your dad's first name and then either son or daughter after it.
Correct.
So
Yep.
Bragi son or Bragi daughter. And it's always fun to add try to add the accent in with it. So I always, me being the goofball I am, it was so fun. So you would act out all your deaths, and so like yeah, I have a video I can send you that when I stabbed the one dude, you can see him go oh, and then flop over.
Oh my gosh, that's gotta
It's
be so cool
amazing.
to watch. And of course, you guys have audiences and stuff, right?
Oh
And
yeah, yeah. It's literally like if you're like it's you get to reenact A Knight's Tale and Ren Fair every week.
I would love that so much. I never go to the Ren Fair because it's so expensive. Like,
That's the
I have
best
money,
part
but
too.
not that kind.
It's Ren Fair, but everyone else knows that that's just too damn expensive, so they actually price shit reasonably.
Yeah, I forget who it was. It was one of my fiance's friends, but they went to the Ren Fair here and paid like $40 for like a chicken, like one of those turkey legs or something. I was like, "What are you, what are you doing?" Uh-uh.
My boots are my most expensive part of my gear.
How much did those run you?
I think 600.
Oh my goodness. Is
They're
it
hand
there a reason they're so expensive besides
they're
being handmade?
they're handmade leather knee high boots like
I, I gotcha. So it's tooled leather.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that'll run you some good money, but they'll probably
Oh.
last forever.
Oh yeah, I'm hoping they'll probably last me forever, and they're so comfy when it comes to fighting.
I bet, like, and that's another thing. Like, if you get like the either cheap or ones that don't fit, you got to worry about not having fun because you're in pain or some things like
I will say the
not
first couple of
fitting
days of
right.
breaking those boots into fighting boots was not fun. My ankles and feet killed because there's no arch support. But
Hmm.
after you break them in and you get the ankles kind of loosened up, oh my god, they're not heavy at all. They're it's like wearing slippers or a typical tennis shoe, and it's just you can feel you trust the sturdiness of the leather to know that no matter what the fuck's coming at my legs or if I have to slide, I'm fine.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's because it's hand tooled. Like, you know that this is, it's not just some stuff from I don't want to say like, from China, but like
Yeah, no,
it's not
exactly.
some Temu boots. You're
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. The price is crazy, but that I mean, for something of that quality, I would absolutely pay for that. Now, you said that you moved away from like the heavy fighting because you did get injured, but you still do fencing and stuff at these tournaments and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so the fencing side, it's pretty much all the same kind of stuff. When it comes to armor, there's a lot less that I typically only wear like a typical like fencing jacket underneath the clothes that I would wear, and that's all. And
I
that
gotcha.
and the mask. That's all you typically. Gloves, the a puncture proof or certain type of material is the regulation because you can make like your own like uh vests instead of if you don't want to wear like the white ones underneath clothes and shit like that. But I'm lazy, and so I just wore like the white typical like Olympic style fencing vest underneath all
I
my
gotcha.
clothes. But oh my god, that stuff was so fun.
I can only imagine. Like, I have definitely not like branched into the idea of like spectator sport of it, but that sounds like a lot of fun. Like, I went and I've watched through tutorials. Read a couple of manuals. I forget where it is, but I did some research on Glima, which is Icelandic wrestling, I think. Um,
Viking wrestling, yeah.
Yeah, Viking wrestling. That's brutal. I'm sure you know what it is, but just like some of the throws and takedowns, like you watch it and you can feel your own bones rattle. You're like, how in the world
So
are people just getting up?
that is slowly being brought into the SCA is the hand to hand style grappling.
Oh, really?
Oh,
Like
and
I
it's and
know,
it's brutal because you can throw punches, you can throw people.
right? So it's not just I know that like finding resources on it makes me want to like scrub my brain because you don't find good resources out there. If you have any, feel free to drop them in my lap on Messenger or something because I don't have very much.
SCA, I mean, I'm telling you, they're an unlimited resource for anything of antiquity.
I'm
Like
about to
all
have to look into that.
there's Facebook groups all over, and you could, I mean, and they're like I said, they're the most welcoming community. They want to answer your questions, so they're more they'll be more than happy to show you, put you in the right spot. Because I only know like I only have a few of the fencing manuscripts. I know what you're talking about with the Glima. I've seen a few YouTube videos, but that's about it. I think it was like
Yeah.
there was like a
I know that it originated, I'm sorry, in Iceland. And it's like a very brutal fighting style, but the more I've looked into it, the more I've figured out that it's not just wrestling. Like they had specific blows and sword and shield style
yep.
fighting and all kinds of stuff that eventually got like stuck onto the base of it. Like so I mean, and you have a background in wrestling, so I feel like if you went for Glima, you would have like an unfair advantage. You would just
Oh yeah, because that's I mean that's where wrestling comes from. Wrestling comes from Greco-Roman Olympics.
Mhm.
So it's all upper body throwing and yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I took jujitsu for a couple of years.
Oh
This
hell
is
yeah.
Brazilian
Well,
jiu-jitsu.
you'd have probably a better you'd probably have a better footing than I would honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that is just the style when you get somebody, even in your tournaments or whatever, you get somebody who if you take them to the ground, they're not confused. That is the worst kind of, all the shields and the swords are gone and you're on the ground just going
If
at
I knock
somebody.
someone to the ground and I see their legs and arms go up like they want to hug me on the ground, I'm not going to the ground with you.
Run. Put some space between the two of you because that person might know what they're doing.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, what a great way to end this episode. Thank you so much for coming on. Please shout out anywhere they can find you for when your books come out and all that kind of
Of
stuff.
course, of course. Yeah, yeah, this was nice. It was definitely an interesting. I learned something new today, so thank you for that.
Hell yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you so much. Definitely would love to have you back on again, especially more closer when the books come out.
Sure.
Hell yeah.
We
Well,
can
thank you.
definitely look into that.
Awesome. Well, you have a great rest of your night.
You too. Thanks, Corey.
Of course.